Life does not always transform in loud or dramatic ways. More often, it unfolds quietly, like the slow rising of the sun that lights up the world without noise or announcement. Transformation is rarely a sudden revolution. It is the gentle accumulation of small choices, quiet realizations, and hidden shifts that eventually change the direction of your entire life. Think of the moments that shaped you most. Were they wrapped in fireworks and applause? Or were they the nights you sat alone in reflection, the seasons of pain that forced you to look deeper, and the silent decisions you made when no one else was watching? As the Buddha said, "A jug fills drop by drop." In the same way, life is transformed not by one great act, but through subtle and steady awakenings. Today, I will share 12 powerful life secrets, not common cliches, but deeper truths that can reshape the way you think, live, and see the world forever. 1. The silent power of invisible effort. Transformation does not begin when the spotlight is on you, nor does it begin when people finally notice your progress or applaud your achievements. True transformation begins much earlier, in the hidden hours that no one talks about, in the quiet sacrifices that others may never see. It begins in those early mornings when you rise while the world is still asleep, choosing discipline over comfort. It begins in the late nights when others are busy distracting themselves, while you sit in study, reflection, or practice, shaping your future one small step at a time. It begins in the everyday moments when you are faced with choices, when nobody is watching, when no one will praise you for doing the right thing, when there is no recognition attached to your effort, and you still choose the harder but better path. Most people believe that success is built in the moment of victory, when the world claps for you, but that is only the result of something far deeper. What people admire in public is always built upon what you commit to in private. The quiet hours of preparation, the decisions you make when you could have taken the easy way, the moments when you choose to push yourself just a little more when it would be easier to stop. These are the invisible bricks that build the foundation of a powerful life. Without them, no real transformation can last, because visible success cannot stand long without strong, hidden roots. Think of a tree. People admire its height, its shade, its beauty. But what truly keeps the tree alive and strong are the roots beneath the soil, roots no one can see. Those roots are invisible, yet they are the most important part of the tree. Without them, the tree would collapse at the first strong wind. In the same way, your unseen efforts are the roots of your growth. They are not glamorous, they do not earn applause, but they give you strength, stability, and the power to withstand life's storms. Invisible effort also teaches humility. When you work without recognition, you learn to value the process rather than the praise. You stop living for the validation of others and instead begin to respect yourself for the discipline and persistence you carry inside. This shift is what separates those who rise and stay strong from those who achieve temporary success but quickly fall apart. If you truly wish to transform your life, do not wait for applause, validation, or acknowledgement from the outside world. Learn to fall in love with the process itself. Fall in love with the quiet hours of practice. Fall in love with the silent victories, those moments when you conquered laziness, when you pushed through discomfort, when you stayed true to your values, even though no one saw it. These invisible acts are not wasted. They are shaping you into the person who will one day be admired. And when that moment comes, when others finally see the visible results of your hidden work, you will know the truth. Success was not born in applause, but in silence. 2. Pain is the pathway, not the obstacle. For most of us, the natural instinct is to run from pain. We avoid it, hide from it, or numb ourselves so we do not have to feel its sharp edges. We see pain as a problem, an obstacle blocking us from the life we want. But the truth, which many only discover after enduring life's toughest storms, is that pain is not the obstacle, it is the pathway. Every deep transformation in human life has been born not from comfort, but from struggle. Pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher, your sculptor, your silent guide that forces you to grow when nothing else can. Think of the times in your life when you truly changed. Was it when everything was easy, smooth, and predictable? Or was it when you were broken, when things didn't go your way, when life pushed you to your limits? Pain has a way of shattering illusions and tearing down the false walls we build around ourselves. It strips away what is unnecessary and forces us to confront what is real. It reveals your strength in ways comfort never could. The heartbreak that made you question your worth, the failure that crushed your confidence, the loss that emptied your soul. Those moments, though painful, carried inside them lessons that shaped you into the person you are today. In Buddhism, suffering is not seen as meaningless punishment. It is recognized as an inseparable part of existence, a fire that purifies and awakens. Without suffering, there is no awareness, and without awareness, there is no growth. Pain reminds us that life is fleeting, that attachment creates suffering, and that we must learn to let go. Pain invites us to slow down, to reflect, and to understand what truly matters. It forces us to shift our perspective from "why is this happening to me?" to "what is this teaching me?" That small change in mindset transforms pain from something destructive into something deeply constructive. Imagine a seed. Before it becomes a tree, it must first crack open in the darkness of the soil. That breaking apart is painful, yet without it, the seed would never grow. In the same way, you must sometimes break before you bloom. Pain cracks you open so new life can enter. What you call breaking down is often life preparing you to break through. The same fire that burns can also forge steel. It is easy to see pain only as suffering, but hidden within it is wisdom. The sting of betrayal teaches you the value of loyalty. The heaviness of grief teaches you the depth of love. The frustration of failure teaches you patience and perseverance. These lessons are priceless, and they can only be learned through experience. If you had lived your entire life without struggle, you would never know your strength, you would never appreciate joy, and you would never develop the resilience that makes you unshakable. Transformation requires that you stop running from pain and instead begin to face it with courage. This does not mean you must love pain, but it does mean you must respect it. Pain is like a messenger. It arrives to deliver a truth about yourself or your life. If you listen, you grow. If you resist, you only prolong the suffering. The moment you accept that pain is part of your path, not a detour, you free yourself from bitterness. So when life hurts, when things fall apart, when your heart feels heavy and your soul feels tested, remind yourself of this truth. Pain is not here to destroy you. It is here to prepare you, to shape you, to guide you toward the person you were meant to become. The wound you carry today may one day be the wisdom that helps someone else heal. What feels unbearable in the moment may, in time, become the very reason you rise stronger. Pain is not the obstacle. It is the pathway, and those who embrace its lessons are the ones who are truly transformed. 3. The Mirror of Solitude. In our world today, being alone is often seen as something negative. People associate solitude with loneliness, emptiness, or even failure, as though the absence of company is a sign that something is wrong. But solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is the painful feeling of being disconnected from others, while solitude is the powerful state of being deeply connected to yourself. Where loneliness drains your spirit, solitude restores it. It is not an absence of life, but a space where you rediscover it. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, the noise of conversations, the noise of social media, the noise of opinions and demands, it becomes almost impossible to hear your own inner voice. You end up living according to the expectations of others rather than the truth of your soul. Solitude removes those layers of interference and gives you the rare opportunity to see yourself clearly. It is like standing in front of a mirror that does not reflect your physical face, but your inner reality. Alone with your thoughts, you begin to notice what you have been avoiding. You see your fears, your desires, your patterns, your wounds, and your potential. This can be uncomfortable at first, because most people spend their entire lives running away from themselves, drowning in distractions so they never have to face the truth. But it is only by facing yourself that you can truly grow. Think of solitude as a sacred pause, a time when the world fades away and you return to your center. The great sages, philosophers, and spiritual teachers throughout history all practiced solitude in some form. The Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree in deep meditation alone. Prophets sought mountains, caves, and deserts for reflection. Poets, thinkers, and inventors often retreated into silence before creating their greatest works. They understood that solitude is not weakness, it is the womb of transformation. In solitude, creativity is born because your mind is no longer pulled in 100 directions. In solitude, clarity arises because there are no outside voices clouding your judgment. In solitude, peace is found because you are no longer fighting to keep up with the noise of the world. Most importantly, in solitude, you discover that you are not as fragile as you once thought. You learn to stand on your own feet, to carry your own weight, and to enjoy your own company. But solitude does more than just reveal truths. It strengthens you. When you spend time alone, you stop relying on constant validation and approval. You begin to feel comfortable in your own presence. This creates a quiet confidence, a kind of unshakable inner strength, because if you can be at peace by yourself, you can be at peace anywhere. When you no longer fear being alone, you no longer allow toxic relationships, shallow friendships, or meaningless distractions to control your life. You start choosing people and situations not out of desperation, but out of genuine alignment with your values. Solitude also teaches you self-love in its most authentic form. To sit in silence and stillness with yourself without needing noise, entertainment, or distraction is a profound act of love. It says, "I am enough. My own presence is enough." From this place of self-acceptance, you can build deeper, healthier connections with others because you are no longer using them to fill a void. You are sharing your fullness with them instead. At first, solitude may feel intimidating because when you are alone, you can no longer hide behind busyness or the opinions of others. Old wounds surface. Doubts echo louder. But if you stay long enough, if you breathe through the discomfort and allow the silence to do its work, you will begin to feel something shift. You will realize that solitude is not emptiness, it is spaciousness. It is not isolation, it is connection to your truest self. Transformation requires solitude, because growth happens in silence before it is revealed in sound. Just as a seed grows quietly in the dark soil before breaking into the light, you too need time in the quiet to nurture the roots of your becoming. Do not fear solitude, embrace it. For in solitude, you will find the mirror that shows you not who the world wants you to be, but who you truly are. 4. Growth hides in discomfort. Human beings are wired to seek comfort. From the moment we are born, we crave warmth, safety, and familiarity. Comfort feels good, it reassures us, it gives us a sense of control, and it quiets the restless parts of our mind that long for stability. Yet, while comfort soothes, it does not transform. True growth never happens in the warm bed of ease. It happens in the raw, uncertain, and often uncomfortable places of life. Discomfort is the soil in which transformation takes root. The very moments you resist, the very challenges you avoid, are often the gateways to your greatest growth. Think about the times in your life when you changed in ways that mattered. Did those moments come when everything was smooth and predictable, or did they come when life pushed you beyond what you thought you could handle? Growth rarely comes when you are sitting in the safe corners of routine. It comes when you step into the unknown, when you take risks, when you dare to push yourself beyond the edge of what feels manageable. Discomfort forces you to expand your limits, to build new skills, to cultivate resilience, and to tap into parts of yourself you didn't know existed. This truth is visible everywhere in nature. Consider the butterfly. Before it can spread its wings, it must first struggle inside the cocoon. If you cut open the cocoon to help it escape, you may think you are saving it from struggle, but in reality, you are robbing it of the strength it needs. The struggle against the cocoon builds the muscles in its wings. Without the discomfort of that struggle, the butterfly will never fly. The same is true for you. Without discomfort, your wings never grow strong enough to carry you. In Buddhism, discomfort is not something to be feared or avoided. It is something to be understood. Life is full of suffering and challenge, but rather than running from it, we are encouraged to face it with awareness. Discomfort is a teacher, and like all good teachers, it demands that you pay attention. When you step into discomfort, you see your fears more clearly, you understand your attachments more deeply, and you discover what truly matters to you. Avoiding discomfort only keeps you trapped in cycles of limitation. Embracing it allows you to break free. Take the example of physical growth. If you want to strengthen your body, you must place your muscles under stress. Lifting weights tears muscle fibers, and it is through that discomfort, followed by rest and repair, that the muscles grow stronger. Without resistance, there is no strength. The same principle applies to the mind and the spirit. Mental resilience is forged when you face challenges that test your patience, your persistence, and your ability to stay calm under pressure. Emotional strength is developed when you navigate heartbreak, loss, and disappointment without letting them destroy you. Spiritual growth comes when you step beyond the comforts of ego and desire and face the discomfort of letting go. Yet most people resist discomfort because it feels unpleasant. We would rather stay in the familiar, even if it means staying small, rather than face the uncertainty of growth. We stick to jobs we hate because they feel secure. We stay in relationships that no longer nourish us because we fear being alone. We avoid hard conversations because they are uncomfortable, even though speaking the truth could set us free. In doing so, we trade temporary ease for long-term regret. Comfort becomes a prison with invisible bars, keeping us trapped in cycles of mediocrity. Growth requires courage, the courage to choose discomfort when comfort is available. It is the courage to try something new when failure is possible, to speak your truth when judgment may follow, to take risks when security whispers that you should stay where you are. Every step into discomfort is a step into expansion. Each time you lean into fear rather than away from it, you stretch the boundaries of who you are. There is also a hidden paradox in discomfort. While it feels painful in the moment, it often leaves behind a deep sense of fulfillment. Think of the times when you pushed yourself to accomplish something difficult, running farther than you thought possible, learning a new skill, or overcoming a personal fear. The process was uncomfortable, but the pride and growth you felt afterward were priceless. On the other hand, when you choose comfort over and over again, you may feel relief in the moment, but over time, that relief turns into restlessness, dissatisfaction, and regret. Comfort numbs you, but discomfort wakes you up. In spiritual practice, discomfort is often deliberately embraced. Monks meditate for hours in silence, not because it is easy, but because it forces the mind to confront restlessness, boredom, and resistance. Through this discomfort, they reach deeper levels of awareness. Similarly, fasting teaches not just control over the body, but also awareness of attachment and desire. These practices remind us that discomfort can purify, discipline, and enlighten us if we approach it with the right mindset. There is also wisdom in recognizing the difference between destructive discomfort and transformative discomfort. Not all pain leads to growth. Some discomfort arises from harmful environments, toxic relationships, or unhealthy choices, and that should not be glorified. True transformative discomfort is the kind that challenges you while guiding you toward a higher version of yourself. It may feel heavy, but it leaves you stronger, clearer, and freer, not broken or diminished. The secret is to stop fearing discomfort and instead make it your ally. Instead of avoiding challenges, lean into them. Instead of silencing fear, listen to it and walk through it. Instead of choosing the easy road, choose the road that stretches you. Discomfort is the place where life tests your courage and reveals your potential. Every time you step into discomfort, you are chiseling away at the old version of yourself and allowing the new, stronger version to emerge. When you look back on your life years from now, the moments you will remember with pride will not be the times you stayed comfortable. You will not look back fondly on the nights you avoided risk, the days you clung to what was easy, or the years you hid in the safety of routine. What will stay with you are the moments you dared to grow, the times you walked into discomfort, faced your fears, and pushed yourself beyond what you thought was possible. Those moments will define you because those moments are where life truly happens. So do not curse discomfort when it arrives. Do not see it as a punishment or a cruel interruption to your plans. See it as a sign that life is inviting you to grow. See it as an opportunity to stretch your spirit, to build resilience, and to move closer to the person you are capable of becoming. Remember the butterfly in the cocoon, the seed in the soil, the muscle under strain. Without struggle, there is no strength. Without discomfort, there is no transformation. Growth hides in discomfort, waiting for those brave enough to face it. And when you learn to see discomfort not as an enemy but as a guide, you unlock one of the greatest secrets of life, that everything you want, everything you are meant to become, lies on the other side of fear and unease. Step into that space and you will discover wings you never knew you had. 5. The law of energy exchange. Everything in life is built on energy. Not just the energy we recognize in physical terms, like food, electricity, or movement, but the subtle energy we give and receive in every interaction, every thought, and every action. Every word you speak, every thought you entertain, every choice you make carries an energy that either builds or depletes you. Life, in its most profound sense, is an endless cycle of giving and receiving, a constant exchange of energy. The way you use your energy each day quietly determines the life you experience tomorrow. Think about how you feel after spending time with different people. Some people leave you lighter, inspired, and motivated, as if they poured fresh life into your spirit. Others leave you drained, restless, or heavy, as though they took something from you without giving anything in return. This is the law of energy exchange at work. People, environments, and even your own thoughts either nourish you or drain you. Transformation begins the moment you realize you are not powerless in this exchange. You are the one deciding where and how to spend your energy. We live in a world full of distractions, and most people waste their energy on things that do not matter. Hours are poured into endless scrolling on social media, into gossip, into worrying about what others think, into chasing material possessions that bring only temporary satisfaction. This is energy being spent carelessly, like pouring water into a leaking bucket. You may not notice it in the moment, but over time, you feel the emptiness, the exhaustion, and the dissatisfaction that comes from investing your energy in the wrong places. Energy, once spent, does not return in the same form. It leaves you with either progress or regret. On the other hand, when you use your energy with awareness, life begins to transform. Directing your focus toward building new skills, nurturing meaningful relationships, practicing mindfulness, or pursuing your passions returns energy multiplied. You feel renewed, stronger, more purposeful, because energy invested wisely always creates growth. Just as money multiplies when invested in the right places, your inner energy expands when spent on things that align with your values and your true self. Buddhism teaches that everything is interconnected. This means the energy you release into the world does not vanish. It ripples outward, shaping not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. A single act of kindness may seem small, but the energy it carries can create a chain reaction, inspiring others to act with kindness too. The same is true with negativity. An angry word spreads tension like fire spreading smoke, leaving behind an atmosphere heavy with pain. Once you understand this, you realize that you are not just a passive participant in life. You are a constant contributor to the energy around you. Every choice matters. This law also shows itself in your relationship with effort and reward. Nothing in life comes for free. You cannot expect peace while pouring your energy into chaos. You cannot expect success while investing your time in laziness. You cannot expect love while giving bitterness. Life mirrors back to you what you consistently give. If your energy is fragmented, distracted, or consumed by negativity, your results will reflect that. But if your energy is focused, intentional, and aligned with higher principles, you will see those seeds blossom into meaningful achievements. Think about the times when you felt deeply alive. Perhaps it was when you poured yourself fully into a project, when you gave your all to help someone in need, or when you committed to mastering a discipline. Those moments left you energized, not drained, because when energy is spent in alignment with your values, it renews itself. The paradox of energy is that the more you give in the right direction, the more life gives back to you. But this law comes with responsibility. If you are careless with your energy, you will pay the price. Spending time with toxic people, feeding your mind with negativity, or engaging in habits that dull your spirit will slowly strip you of vitality. You may not notice immediately, but over weeks, months, or years, the result is always the same: burnout, dissatisfaction, emptiness. Energy does not lie. It reveals itself in the way you feel, in the outcomes you create, and in the atmosphere you carry around you. To transform your life, you must become a guardian of your energy. This means setting boundaries, saying no to what drains you, and saying yes to what fuels you. It means choosing your company carefully, because the people you allow into your space are either investing in you or stealing from you. It means watching your own thoughts, because your mind is the first place where energy is exchanged. Negative self-talk robs you of strength, while compassionate, disciplined thoughts empower you. There is also a deeper dimension to this law, the spiritual exchange of energy. When you pray, meditate, or reflect in silence, you are not wasting energy, you are renewing it. When you detach from material obsessions and connect with the present moment, you conserve energy that would otherwise be wasted on desire and comparison. Spiritual practices are not about withdrawing from life, they are about replenishing the energy that keeps you aligned with truth. The greatest transformations happen when you begin to see energy as your most valuable currency. Time can be borrowed, money can be earned and spent, but your energy is finite each day. Where you direct it determines who you become. If you spend it on resentment, you will grow bitter. If you spend it on discipline, you will grow stronger. If you spend it on compassion, you will grow lighter. And if you spend it on awareness, you will grow wiser. Life will always take energy from you, but it will also always give energy back. The law of exchange is not about hoarding energy or protecting yourself from all loss. It is about giving and receiving consciously. Sometimes you must give without expecting return, because generosity itself fills your spirit. Sometimes you must allow yourself to receive, because refusing help blocks the natural flow of exchange. The key is balance. Give where your heart is open. Receive where life offers abundance, and protect your energy from being wasted on things that keep you small. When you truly understand this law, you stop asking why life feels empty or unfair. Instead, you begin to ask yourself, where is my energy going? Am I pouring it into distractions or into growth? Am I investing it in bitterness or in love? Am I scattering it across 1,000 meaningless tasks, or focusing it on what really matters? Your answers to these questions will reveal the exact reason why your life looks the way it does. Growth, peace, and transformation all depend on how you manage your energy. Every choice is an exchange. Every day is a transaction. Every moment is an opportunity to invest wisely. When you choose with awareness, you discover the greatest secret of all. The energy you give is the life you create. And when you begin to give with purpose, receive with gratitude, and protect your energy with wisdom, you align yourself with the flow of life itself, a current that will always carry you toward transformation. 6. Rejection is divine redirection. One of the hardest experiences in life is to feel rejected. It stings deeply, cutting into the heart and leaving behind doubts, shame, and questions that echo endlessly. Why wasn't I good enough? Why did they leave me behind? Why didn't I get chosen? Why was I shut out? Rejection can make you feel small, invisible, and unworthy, as though the world has declared that you do not belong. It is no surprise that many people see rejection as a failure, as a cruel end to something they believed was rightfully theirs. But what if rejection is not an ending at all? What if rejection is, in truth, one of the greatest gifts life can give you? To understand this, you must see rejection not as punishment, but as redirection. Every time a door closes, every time you are turned away, every time someone leaves your life or something slips out of your hands, it is not because life is cruel. It is because life is guiding you away from what was never meant for you. Rejection is not the universe declaring you unworthy. It is the universe protecting you, reshaping your path, and pointing you toward a destiny greater than the one you were clinging to. Think back to times in your past when you felt rejected. Perhaps you were denied a job you desperately wanted, only to later discover that the path you were forced to take led you to a career more fulfilling than you could have imagined. Perhaps you were abandoned in a relationship, feeling broken beyond repair, only to realize later that you had been saved from someone who could never have truly valued your worth. Perhaps you missed out on an opportunity that seemed like the key to your dreams, only to later understand that it would have limited you rather than expanded you. In the moment, rejection feels like a cruel loss. But with time and perspective, you can often look back and see that rejection was really a form of protection. The truth is that not everything we desire is good for us. Sometimes our hearts chase things that would harm us, blind us, or stunt our growth. We ask for relationships that would drain our spirit. We beg for opportunities that would distract us from our real purpose. We cling to people who cannot walk with us into the next chapter of our journey. And because we cannot always see clearly what is right for us, life sometimes has to intervene. Rejection is life's way of removing what you cannot yet let go of, guiding you to what you truly need. Buddhist wisdom reminds us of the dangers of attachment. When we cling tightly to something, whether it be a person, a job, or an identity, we create suffering because all things are impermanent. Rejection often feels so painful because it forces us to confront impermanence directly. It tears from our hands the illusion of control and demands that we surrender. While this feels cruel, it is actually compassionate. Rejection is the push that moves you forward when you are unwilling to release what is holding you back. It is a reminder that life is not always about what you want, but about what you need for growth. There is also an invisible timing to life that rejection teaches us. You may not get what you want today, not because you are unworthy, but because you are not yet ready. The soil may need more time before it can nourish the seed. The storm may need to pass before the ground can hold a new structure. If you were given everything you wanted the moment you asked for it, you might not have the maturity, wisdom, or resilience to sustain it. Rejection is often life's way of preparing you. It is not a denial, it is a delay. It is not never, it is not yet. But to see rejection in this way, you must learn to trust. Trust is the bridge between rejection and redirection. Without trust, rejection feels like cruelty. With trust, rejection feels like guidance. Trust is the quiet voice that whispers, "You are not being abandoned, you are being redirected." This closed door is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a better chapter. Let's imagine rejection as a river. You step into the current, thinking you know where it should carry you. You want it to flow toward a specific destination, a job, a relationship, an opportunity. But sometimes the river shifts, pushing you away from the direction you planned. You resist, you fight the current, you cry out in frustration, wondering why life is against you. But if you allow the current to carry you, you will often find yourself arriving at a destination more beautiful, more aligned, and more meaningful than the one you first imagined. Rejection is that current. It is the movement of life carrying you toward your true path. This is not to say that rejection will suddenly stop hurting once you see it as redirection. Pain is natural because rejection touches your identity and your hopes. It makes you question yourself. But pain is not the same as truth. Feeling unworthy does not mean you are unworthy. Feeling abandoned does not mean you are abandoned. Pain is temporary, but the lesson of rejection is permanent. What is meant for you cannot be taken from you, and what is taken from you was never meant for you. The key to transforming rejection into redirection lies in how you respond. You can choose to see rejection as the world closing its doors, or you can see it as life gently guiding you to knock elsewhere. You can waste your energy clinging to what slipped away, or you can conserve your energy for what is waiting ahead. You can drown in the question, "Why me?" or rise with the question, "Where is life leading me instead?" This shift in perspective is the difference between despair and growth. Some of the greatest success stories in history were built on rejection. Writers whose books were rejected dozens of times before becoming classics. Inventors whose ideas were laughed at before changing the world. Leaders who were turned away, mocked, or dismissed before rising to transform nations. Rejection was not their end, it was their training ground. Each no was not a wall, but a stepping stone to the yes that truly mattered. In your own life, rejection may not feel like a gift today. It may feel like loss, emptiness, or failure. But if you can hold on to trust, if you can open your eyes to possibility, you will one day look back and see that rejection was not life's cruelty. It was life's compassion. It was the universe protecting you from paths too small for you, guiding you to opportunities too great to miss. So the next time you face rejection, pause before drowning in despair. Breathe. Remind yourself that this no is not the end of your worth, but the redirection of your journey. Do not curse the closed door, thank it, for it is saving you from entering a room that was never yours. Walk forward, knowing that each rejection is making space for something greater, something that truly belongs to you. Rejection is not the end of your story. It is simply life saying, not this way, not this path. There is something better for you. And when you embrace this truth, rejection no longer breaks you, it transforms you. 7. Stillness reveals the hidden answers. We live in a world addicted to noise. From the moment we wake up, we are surrounded by endless distractions. Our phones buzz with notifications, the news floods us with headlines, conversations swirl around us, and even in the quiet of our own minds, thoughts chatter endlessly. We are constantly moving, constantly searching, constantly filling silence with activity. And yet, for all this busyness, for all this restless searching, the answers we seek often remain out of reach. Why? Because answers do not reveal themselves in chaos. They reveal themselves in stillness. Stillness is one of the most underestimated powers in human life. Most people see it as doing nothing, as wasting time, as being unproductive. But stillness is not the absence of life. It is the presence of clarity. It is the state where the mind settles, where the constant ripples of thought begin to calm, and where truth can finally rise to the surface. Just as a lake cannot reflect the sky when its waters are stormy, the mind cannot reflect truth when it is restless. But when the lake becomes still, its surface mirrors the heavens with perfect clarity. In the same way, when your mind becomes still, the answers you've been chasing suddenly become visible. Think about the problems in your life that have weighed on you. Questions about what path to take, decisions about relationships or work, doubts about who you are or where you belong. How often have you tried to think your way out of them, to reason endlessly, to search for advice from others, only to find yourself more confused than before? That is because truth cannot always be forced. The more you chase it, the further it runs. But when you become still, when you pause, breathe, and allow the noise to fade, insight often arises on its own. Buddhism emphasizes the practice of meditation, not as an escape from life, but as a return to it. Meditation is the art of stillness, the practice of observing without chasing, of being present without clinging. In meditation, thoughts still come and go, but instead of wrestling with them, you watch them pass like clouds drifting across the sky. In that gentle watching, the storm of the mind begins to settle. And in the quiet that follows, answers appear, sometimes softly, like whispers, other times suddenly, like lightning. The wisdom was always within you, but it could not speak through the noise. Stillness is not only found in meditation, though. It can be found in nature, when you sit beneath a tree and listen to the wind. It can be found in simple daily rituals, like drinking tea slowly, walking without distraction, or breathing mindfully. It can be found in the pauses between conversations, in the silence before responding, in the moment you allow yourself to simply be. These moments of stillness are often dismissed as unimportant, but they are where your mind has the space to reset, where your spirit has the chance to breathe, and where truth has room to reveal itself. Consider how the greatest ideas and breakthroughs often come not during frantic thinking, but during rest. Scientists have reported discovering solutions in their dreams. Writers often find inspiration during long walks. Inventors stumble upon insights in moments of relaxation. This is not coincidence, it is the law of stillness. When the mind is overworked, it is like clenched fists. It cannot hold anything new. But when the mind relaxes, it becomes open, receptive, and creative. There is a deeper wisdom in stillness too. Beyond solving problems, stillness teaches you who you are beneath the layers of roles and expectations. When the noise quiets, when you are not distracted by what others want from you, you begin to hear your own voice. You begin to notice what your heart longs for, what your spirit resists, what your true self desires. Many people spend their lives avoiding stillness because they are afraid of what they might discover about themselves. Yet it is only by facing yourself in stillness that you can ever truly grow. Stillness also teaches patience. In a world that glorifies speed, productivity, and instant gratification, stillness slows you down and reminds you that not everything needs to be rushed. Answers come in their own time. Healing takes its own pace. Growth unfolds gradually. When you practice stillness, you learn to trust the timing of life instead of forcing it. And in that trust, you find peace. There is another gift hidden in stillness, the ability to listen more deeply. Most people hear only enough to reply. They listen to respond, not to understand. But stillness within allows you to listen without rushing, to truly hear the words of others, to feel the meaning beneath their tone, to connect without distraction. This kind of listening builds empathy, compassion, and stronger relationships. Stillness is not only about listening to yourself, it is about listening to the world with a clarity you cannot have when you are consumed by noise. The truth is, stillness is not empty. It is full of answers, full of clarity, full of wisdom that is always present but often hidden beneath the clutter of your mind. Just as a pond reveals the reflection of the moon only when it is still, your soul reveals its light only when you allow yourself to be quiet. Yet practicing stillness requires courage. It means resisting the urge to fill every silence with activity, to solve every problem instantly, to seek every answer from outside yourself. It means sitting with your own thoughts, your own fears, your own doubts, and realizing they cannot harm you. It means trusting that the wisdom you need is already within you, waiting patiently for you to listen. The next time you feel lost, confused, or overwhelmed, do not rush to fill the void with noise. Instead, pause, breathe. Allow the stillness to settle around you. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but if you wait long enough, if you trust the silence, you will begin to notice something extraordinary. The answers you were searching for were never missing. They were simply waiting for you to be still enough to hear them. So let stillness become your teacher. Make space for it in your daily life. Create pauses between your busyness. Honor the silence that most people fear. For in that silence lies the wisdom you seek, the guidance you need, and the peace that can transform your life. Stillness does not give you less. It gives you more clarity, more awareness, more connection to truth. And when you discover this, you will no longer see stillness as empty time, but as the sacred space where the hidden answers of life finally reveal themselves. 8. The power of invisible discipline. When people think of discipline, they often imagine something harsh, restrictive, or joyless, a rigid structure that squeezes the life out of freedom. But this is a misunderstanding. True discipline is not a prison, it is liberation. It is not chains around your spirit. It is the steady foundation that allows your spirit to soar. Discipline is the quiet force that builds greatness, and though the world does not celebrate it in the moment, it is the invisible current shaping the lives of those who rise above mediocrity. The reason most people fail to transform their lives is not because they lack talent, opportunity, or intelligence. It is because they lack discipline. Talent without discipline is wasted potential. Opportunity without discipline is quickly lost. Intelligence without discipline leads to endless ideas, but no results. Discipline is the bridge between desire and reality, between dreaming and becoming, between wishing and doing. But the most powerful form of discipline is not the kind that the world can see. It is not the grand gesture, the loud declaration, or the temporary burst of motivation that burns bright and fades quickly. The discipline that transforms your life is quiet, subtle, and often invisible. It happens in the daily choices no one notices. It happens when you wake up early, even though your bed whispers comfort. It happens when you say no to distractions, even though no one is there to applaud you. It happens when you choose focus over temptation, consistency over laziness, commitment over excuses. Invisible discipline is the unseen architecture of success. Think about the people you admire, the athletes, the artists, the leaders, the thinkers. When you look at them, you see the visible success, the gold medals, the best-selling books, the inspiring speeches, the remarkable achievements. But what you do not see are the countless invisible hours of discipline that made those visible moments possible. You do not see the mornings when the athlete trained in silence, drenched in sweat before the sun even rose. You do not see the writer staring at the blank page, forcing themselves to write even when inspiration refused to come. You do not see the leader studying late at night, preparing, practicing, learning while the rest of the world slept. Success is what people notice, but discipline is what people ignore. Yet without the latter, the former would never exist. Discipline is invisible because it does not demand attention. It does not announce itself with noise. It is built quietly, day by day, decision by decision, until it becomes part of who you are. And this is why it is so powerful, because it is not dependent on external recognition. It is not about what others see. It is about what you commit to in private. Invisible discipline builds an inner strength that no outside force can shake. Consider how discipline shapes habits. Every habit begins as a single act, often so small it feels meaningless. Reading a page of a book, meditating for 5 minutes, saving a small amount of money, taking a short walk. These actions are invisible, almost laughable in their simplicity, but when repeated daily with discipline, they accumulate into transformations so large that people call them miraculous. The problem is that most people quit before the invisible discipline can bear fruit. They do not realize that the seed must stay in the soil, unseen, for a long time before it becomes a tree. Discipline is the willingness to keep watering the seed, even when you cannot yet see the growth. Discipline also requires patience, and patience is one of the rarest virtues in a world addicted to speed. People want quick results, instant success, overnight change, but discipline understands that real transformation is slow. It knows that time is an ally, not an enemy. Discipline is the choice to keep showing up every day, to keep practicing, to keep improving, even when progress is invisible. This is why disciplined people appear unstoppable, because they are not seduced by quick results. They are committed to the long journey. Invisible discipline is also about self-mastery. The hardest battle you will ever fight is not against the world, but against yourself. Your desires will pull you toward comfort. Your fears will push you away from challenge. Your excuses will whisper that tomorrow is a better day to begin. Discipline is the voice that interrupts these lies and says, "Do it now. Keep going. Stay focused." It is the inner strength to control your impulses, to rise above your moods, and to keep your promises to yourself, even when it is inconvenient. This is why disciplined people are respected, not because they are perfect, but because they consistently conquer the battles most others surrender to. There is also a spiritual dimension to discipline. In Buddhism, discipline is part of the path to enlightenment. It is not about punishing yourself, but about aligning your actions with your higher values. Discipline creates harmony between intention and action. It teaches you to live with integrity, to follow through on what you say, and to live in accordance with truth rather than desire. This alignment generates peace. When your actions match your values, you no longer live in inner conflict. Invisible discipline becomes visible peace. Look at how discipline shapes freedom. At first glance, discipline seems to limit freedom because it requires rules, structure, and restraint. But in reality, discipline is the very thing that creates freedom. Without financial discipline, you are enslaved by debt. Without physical discipline, you are enslaved by weakness and illness. Without mental discipline, you are enslaved by distraction and confusion. Discipline may restrict you in the moment, but it liberates you in the long run. It gives you the freedom to live without regret, to enjoy health, to create abundance, to master your mind. The person who rejects discipline in pursuit of comfort ends up trapped. The person who embraces discipline gains true freedom. Discipline is also contagious. When you practice it consistently, you inspire others without even trying. People notice the stability, the consistency, the results, even if they cannot see the invisible work behind it. Your quiet discipline becomes a silent example, a light that guides others who are lost in distraction. In this way, discipline not only transforms your life, but also ripples outward to transform the lives of those around you. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of invisible discipline is the self-respect it builds. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you strengthen your trust in yourself. You begin to see yourself as someone reliable, someone capable, someone strong. This quiet confidence cannot be faked because it is built through action, not words. Others may not see your invisible discipline, but you feel it every day in the way you carry yourself, the way you approach challenges, and the way you believe in your own ability to endure. In the end, discipline is not about perfection. You will stumble, you will falter, you will have days when you fail to keep your commitments. But discipline is about returning. It is about getting back up again and again until consistency becomes part of your identity. The power of invisible discipline lies not in being flawless, but in being relentless. So if you want to transform your life, stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is fleeting, discipline is enduring. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Discipline creates the time. Stop craving applause. Discipline does not need it. Instead, begin with small, invisible acts of commitment. Wake up a little earlier, practice a little longer, focus a little deeper. Repeat this quietly, consistently, until it becomes who you are. One day, others will look at you and call you successful, disciplined, or even lucky. They will admire the visible results without realizing the invisible discipline that created them. And you will smile, knowing the truth, that the most powerful victories are not the ones the world sees, but the ones you win in silence. Invisible discipline is not glamorous, but it is unshakable. It is not loud, but it is life-changing. And when you embrace it fully, it becomes the most reliable companion on your journey of transformation. For in the end, greatness is not built in moments of applause, but in the quiet, disciplined hours when no one is watching. Every human being experiences the full spectrum of emotions: joy, sadness, anger, fear, love, jealousy, excitement, and despair. Emotions are part of the human experience, woven into every thought, decision, and action. They shape the way we see the world, they color our relationships, and they influence the way we respond to life. Yet, one of the greatest mistakes people make is confusing emotions with identity. They believe that because they feel something, it must define who they are or dictate what they do. But the truth is that emotions were never meant to be your masters. They were meant to be your messengers. Emotions carry information. They are signals, like lights on the dashboard of a car, pointing toward what is happening inside you. Anger may be a messenger that something you value is being violated. Sadness may be a messenger that you have experienced loss and need to heal. Fear may be a messenger that danger or growth lies ahead. Joy may be a messenger that you are aligned with something meaningful. Emotions are not random, they arrive with purpose. But when you mistake the messenger for the master, when you hand over your power to emotion, you become controlled by forces that were only ever meant to guide you. Think of what happens when anger takes over. Instead of noticing the message, perhaps that your boundaries are being crossed, you allow anger to master you. Words are spoken that cannot be taken back. Actions are made that you later regret. Or think of sadness. Instead of honoring its message that you have lost something valuable and must grieve, you allow it to consume you until you stop living. Fear, too, can be destructive when mistaken for a master. Instead of recognizing its message, that something is uncertain and requires caution or courage, you let fear paralyze you, keeping you from ever moving forward. Buddhism teaches that emotions are like passing clouds. They drift across the sky of the mind, sometimes dark and heavy, sometimes light and beautiful, but they are never the sky itself. The problem arises when we cling to them, believing that we are the cloud rather than the vastness of the sky. You are not your anger. You are not your sadness. You are not your fear. You are the awareness that notices these emotions, the observer that allows them to pass without being defined by them. This simple but profound realization transforms your relationship with emotions. To see emotions as messengers requires presence. Most people live on autopilot, reacting instantly to every feeling without pausing to ask what it means. If they feel irritated, they lash out. If they feel fearful, they retreat. If they feel happy, they chase the moment endlessly. In doing so, they become slaves to their emotional states. But when you develop presence, when you learn to pause between feeling and reacting, you give yourself the chance to ask, "What is this emotion here to tell me?" That single question shifts everything. Take fear, for example. Fear is one of the most misunderstood emotions. Most people treat it as an enemy, something to avoid at all costs. But fear is often a messenger of growth. It tells you that you are standing at the edge of your comfort zone, that you are about to step into something unfamiliar. If you see fear as a master, you will retreat and stay small. But if you see fear as a messenger, you will understand that it is pointing you toward expansion. Many of the greatest achievements in life are found on the other side of fear. Anger, too, is not meaningless. It may be telling you that injustice is occurring, that someone is disrespecting you, or that you need to set stronger boundaries. If you let anger master you, it becomes destructive. But if you let it remain a messenger, it becomes constructive. You can channel the energy of anger into action, into creating justice, into protecting yourself, into standing up for others. The difference lies in whether you are controlled by it or guided by it. Sadness is often seen only as weakness, but sadness carries its own wisdom. It tells you what matters to you. You do not grieve what you do not love. Sadness reminds you of your capacity for connection, for caring, for valuing life deeply. If you mistake sadness for a master, it can trap you in despair. But if you see it as a messenger, it can soften you, deepen your empathy, and remind you to cherish the people and moments you still have. Even joy, as beautiful as it is, must be understood properly. Joy is a messenger telling you that you are aligned with something meaningful, something that resonates with your soul. But if you let joy master you, you may become addicted to chasing it, clinging desperately to moments of pleasure and fearing their loss. When joy is seen as a messenger, you simply receive it with gratitude and allow it to pass, knowing that, like all emotions, it is part of the flowing river of life. The challenge is not in feeling emotions. All feelings are natural and human. The challenge is in responding wisely to them. This is where discipline of the mind comes in. Without awareness, you will always react impulsively, allowing emotions to control you. With awareness, you develop the ability to feel without being enslaved, to notice without being consumed, to listen without being commanded. You begin to master the art of emotional alchemy, transforming raw emotions into wisdom, clarity, and purposeful action. There is a practice in Buddhism called sitting with emotions. Instead of running from them or acting out of them, you simply sit with them in silence. You breathe. You allow the emotion to be present without judgment. You observe how it feels in your body, how it moves, how it changes. And eventually, like all visitors, the emotion leaves. This practice teaches you that emotions are temporary. They rise, peak, and fade like waves on the ocean. You do not have to drown in them. You can learn to surf them. Imagine living this way in your daily life. Instead of exploding in anger, you pause and listen to its message. Instead of collapsing in sadness, you let it soften your heart. Instead of running from fear, you use it as a compass. Instead of clinging to joy, you savor it and let it go. This is what it means to live with emotional wisdom. Emotions are no longer your masters. They become your teachers. There is also a profound strength that comes from this way of living. When you are no longer controlled by your emotions, you become unshakable. The world may still bring challenges, people may still trigger you, life may still throw storms your way, but you will no longer be tossed around like a small boat in the waves. You will become like the ocean itself, vast, deep, and steady. Emotions may ripple across your surface, but they will not disturb your depths. Of course, mastering emotions does not mean suppressing them. Suppression is dangerous because emotions that are denied do not disappear. They bury themselves deeper, only to resurface later with greater force. Mastery means acknowledging emotions fully, honoring them as messengers, and then choosing your response. Suppression is silence born of fear. Mastery is silence born of wisdom. Think about the relationships in your life. How many conflicts, how many broken bonds, how many regrets were born not from truth, but from emotions being treated as masters? words spoken in anger, decisions made in fear, actions taken in jealousy. These leave scars that could have been avoided if emotions had been seen as messengers instead. Imagine the transformation in your relationships if you responded not impulsively but thoughtfully, with clarity and compassion. Emotional wisdom also reshapes the way you see others. When you understand that emotions are messengers, you begin to see people differently. Instead of reacting to someone's anger with anger of your own, you begin to wonder what pain or boundary their anger is pointing to. Instead of judging someone's sadness as weakness, you see it as evidence of their capacity to love. Instead of seeing fear as cowardice, you see it as a sign that they are standing at the edge of growth. This shift brings compassion, patience, and deeper connection. The greatest freedom comes when you realize that you are not your emotions. You are the awareness behind them. Emotions rise, but you remain. They pass, but you remain. They change, but you remain. To live with this awareness is to live free from slavery to moods, free from impulsive reactions, free from being tossed around by every wave of feeling. It is to live anchored, steady, and at peace. So the next time a strong emotion arises, do not run from it and do not surrender to it. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What message is it carrying? What wisdom is hidden within it? And once you have received the message, let the emotion pass, as all emotions eventually do. In this way, you reclaim your power. Emotions are no longer your masters, ruling you with fleeting impulses. They become your messengers, guiding you with wisdom. This is one of the greatest transformations you can experience, because once you master your emotions, you master your life. The secret of hidden patterns. Life often feels like a series of random events, unexpected twists, sudden changes, moments of joy, and seasons of struggle. At times, it may seem as though you are simply moving through life without a map, reacting to whatever comes your way. But when you look closer, when you take a step back and examine the story of your life with awareness, you begin to see something extraordinary. There are patterns at work. These patterns are not coincidences. They are messages, lessons, and reflections of your inner world. And the secret is this: life will keep repeating its patterns until you finally learn the lessons they are trying to teach you. How many times have you found yourself in similar situations, wondering why the same challenge keeps returning? Perhaps you enter relationships that always end in the same way, with the same disappointments. Perhaps you find yourself struggling with money over and over, no matter how much you earn. Perhaps you notice that your anger, your fear, or your procrastination keeps showing up in different forms, creating the same results. These are not accidents. These are hidden patterns, loops of experience designed to bring you face to face with yourself. Until you recognize and break them, they will continue to appear. Buddhism teaches that everything in life is interconnected, and this includes the patterns of our thoughts, actions, and outcomes. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If your inner world is full of unresolved wounds, limiting beliefs, or unconscious habits, these will manifest in your outer world as repeated experiences. This is why awareness is so powerful. Without awareness, you will continue to live in cycles without realizing that you are the one creating them. But with awareness, you can finally see the strings that tie your experiences together, and you can choose to cut them. Patterns often begin in childhood. The way you were raised, the way you were treated, the beliefs you absorbed. All of these create imprints that shape your adult life. If you grew up feeling unseen, you may unconsciously choose relationships that repeat that same feeling. If you grew up believing money is scarce, you may sabotage your own financial success. If you grew up fearing rejection, you may avoid risks that could bring you growth. These early imprints create patterns that follow you until you become conscious of them. Life, in its wisdom, keeps bringing them back, not to punish you, but to give you another chance to awaken. The challenge is that most people blame life instead of seeing the pattern. They say, "Why does this always happen to me?" without realizing that the very repetition is the key to the answer. Life is holding up a mirror, showing you the same lesson in different forms until you finally pay attention. The relationship that breaks your heart again and again is not about the other person. It is about your unhealed wounds and the choices you continue to make from them. The financial struggles that repeat are not about bad luck. They are about your beliefs around abundance and your lack of discipline. The anger that keeps surfacing is not about the world being unfair. It is about your inability to master your own reactions. Patterns are life's way of saying, "Here is the lesson. Learn it now or face it again later." Breaking patterns requires courage because it means taking responsibility. It is easier to blame others, to see yourself as a victim, to believe that life is simply unfair. But responsibility gives you power. When you admit that you are part of the pattern, you realize that you also hold the key to breaking it. And once you break it, the cycle ends and your life begins to transform. Let's imagine a person who always ends up in relationships where they feel neglected. At first, they may believe they are simply unlucky, always choosing the wrong partner. But if they look deeper, they may realize that they are unconsciously drawn to partners who mirror the neglect they felt as a child. The pattern is not about bad luck. It is about unresolved wounds. The moment they recognize this, they can begin to heal. They can set stronger boundaries, choose differently, and demand the respect they deserve. Once the pattern is broken, the cycle ends. Or take the example of someone who constantly struggles with money. No matter how much they earn, they end up in debt or without savings. At first, they may believe life is simply against them, but if they look closely, they may see the pattern of overspending, of avoiding discipline, of believing that money will always run out. Until this belief is changed, the pattern will repeat. But once they develop awareness, they can begin to shift their mindset, practice financial discipline, and create new habits. With time, the pattern dissolves and abundance flows where scarcity once ruled. The key to uncovering patterns is mindfulness. You must begin to notice the recurring themes in your life. Ask yourself, what experiences keep repeating? What struggles always return? What situations make me feel the same emotions over and over? Once you identify the patterns, you can begin to trace them back to their roots, often in your beliefs, your fears, your unhealed pain. Awareness is the first step to breaking free. But awareness alone is not enough. You must also act differently. A pattern is like a groove carved into the mind. It is easy to fall back into it because it is familiar. To break it, you must consciously choose a new response, even if it feels uncomfortable. If your pattern is avoidance, you must choose confrontation. If your pattern is anger, you must choose patience. If your pattern is fear, you must choose courage. At first, this feels unnatural because the old pattern is deeply ingrained. But with repetition, the new path becomes stronger and the old one begins to fade. This is why growth often feels so difficult. When you try to break a pattern, your mind and body resist, pulling you back into what is familiar. You may feel fear, discomfort, or even pain. But this is the price of transformation. Every time you resist the pull of the old pattern and choose differently, you weaken its hold. With enough practice, the pattern dissolves and freedom takes its place. Buddhism speaks of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, driven by attachment and ignorance. In many ways, the patterns of your life are your personal samsara. You are reborn into the same struggles, the same lessons, again and again, until awareness breaks the cycle. Enlightenment, in this sense, is not only a spiritual liberation, it is also the liberation from the repetitive patterns that keep you stuck. There is another secret to patterns. They do not only exist on the individual level, they also exist collectively. Families, communities, and even entire societies repeat patterns across generations. Trauma, beliefs, and behaviors are passed down like invisible inheritance. A family plagued by anger may raise children who continue the same cycle. A society built on greed may repeat the same mistakes until awareness emerges. By breaking your personal patterns, you also break chains that could continue for generations. In this way, your healing becomes bigger than you. It becomes a gift to those who come after you. The power of seeing life as patterns is that it transforms your perspective. Instead of feeling like a victim of random misfortune, you begin to see meaning in repetition. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" you begin to ask, "What is life trying to teach me?" That question is the beginning of freedom. For when you recognize the lesson, the pattern no longer needs to repeat. So the next time you find yourself in a familiar struggle, pause. Do not dismiss it as coincidence. Do not curse life for being unfair. Ask yourself, what is the pattern here? What is the lesson I have not yet learned? What new choice can I make right now to break this cycle? In that moment, you reclaim your power. You step out of unconscious repetition and into conscious creation. Life is patient. It will keep bringing back the same lessons again and again for as long as it takes. But you do not have to stay trapped forever. By recognizing your patterns, by taking responsibility, and by making new choices, you can end cycles that have followed you for years. And when you do, you will feel a freedom so deep that it will seem as though an invisible weight has been lifted from your life. This is the secret of hidden patterns. They are not punishments. They are invitations. They are life's way of saying, here is the place where you can grow. Here is the wound you must heal. Here is the lesson you must learn. When you accept the invitation, when you face the pattern and transform it, you step into a new chapter of life, one where the past no longer repeats itself, one where you are free to create a new story, one where transformation is no longer temporary but permanent. And that is the beauty of awareness. Once you see the pattern, you can never unsee it. You may stumble, you may fall back, but you will always know the truth, that you are not trapped in cycles, that you hold the power to break them, and that life is always guiding you toward liberation. The freedom of non-attachment. One of the greatest sources of suffering in human life comes not from what happens to us, but from how tightly we cling to what we think we must have. We attach ourselves to people, to possessions, to outcomes, to identities, and to expectations. We hold them with clenched fists, believing that without them we cannot survive, that our worth, happiness, or stability depends entirely on keeping them. And yet, the more we cling, the more we suffer, for life is constantly changing. Everything that comes will one day go. Nothing, no relationship, no object, no moment, no feeling is permanent. When we build our sense of peace on things that are destined to change, we set ourselves up for inevitable pain. Buddhism speaks clearly of this truth. The root of suffering, it teaches, is attachment. Attachment is not the same as love, care, or appreciation. It is the desperate clinging to something outside of yourself, believing it is the source of your happiness. Love says, I cherish this. Attachment says, I cannot live without this. And because everything in life is impermanent, attachment always leads to fear. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of the unknown. But there is a profound alternative, non-attachment. Non-attachment is not indifference. It is not coldness. It is not refusing to love, to dream, or to care. Non-attachment is freedom. It is the ability to fully experience life without being enslaved by it. To practice non-attachment means to open your hand rather than clench your fist. It means to enjoy what life gives without collapsing when life takes away. It means to love deeply, but without trying to own or control. It means to work with passion, but without tying your worth to results. Non-attachment allows you to move through life with grace because you are no longer a prisoner of circumstances. You are free no matter what changes around you. Consider the way we attach to people. Relationships are beautiful, and love is one of life's greatest gifts. But when love turns into attachment, it becomes suffocating. We begin to demand that people never change, never leave, never disappoint us. We expect them to complete us, to fill our emptiness, to heal our wounds. And when they cannot, because no human being can carry that burden, we feel betrayed, abandoned, or destroyed. But non-attachment changes everything. To love with non-attachment is to love fully, to give your heart without fear, but also to understand that the other person is not yours to control. They are not your possession. They are a fellow traveler on life's path, free to walk with you or to walk away. When you release the need to cling, love becomes lighter, purer, and more powerful. You love not because you are desperate, but because you are free. We also attach to material things. We believe that if we just buy the right house, wear the right clothes, or drive the right car, we will finally feel complete. But possessions decay, trends fade, and the joy of buying something new quickly wears off. How many times have you longed for something, convinced it would make you happy, only to find that once you had it, the excitement quickly disappeared? This is the trap of attachment. Non-attachment does not mean rejecting possessions or living without comfort. It means not confusing them with happiness. You can enjoy wealth, beauty, or comfort without letting them define your peace. You hold them lightly, knowing they may come and go, but your joy is rooted in something deeper. Perhaps the most destructive attachment is to outcomes. We set goals, create plans, and work hard, but then we become obsessed with controlling the results. We tell ourselves, I will only be happy if this happens exactly as I imagine. And when life inevitably moves in its own way, we feel crushed. Attachment to outcomes blinds us to the beauty of the journey and closes us off to unexpected opportunities. But non-attachment brings freedom. It allows you to give your best effort without needing to control every result. You do your part with focus and passion, and then you release the rest. You trust that life will unfold as it should. This trust removes the burden of constant anxiety because your worth is no longer tied to circumstances outside your control. Even our identity can become a cage of attachment. We cling to titles, roles, or versions of ourselves that no longer serve us. We say, I am this kind of person. I can only be this. But life is constant change. Who you were 5 years ago is not who you are today. Who you are today is not who you will be 5 years from now. When you attach to a fixed identity, you resist growth. But non-attachment to identity means embracing change, allowing yourself to evolve, and not being afraid to let go of the old self when a new self is emerging. Non-attachment also applies to time. Many of us are attached to the past, clinging to memories, regrets, or wounds. Others are attached to the future, clinging to hopes, fears, and expectations. Both create suffering because the past is gone and the future has not yet come. Non-attachment frees you to live in the present, to fully experience the only moment that truly exists, this one. When you release the grip on past and future, you discover the depth of peace in simply being here, now. The beauty of non-attachment is that it does not remove love, joy, or passion. It enhances them. When you are not clinging, you can actually experience life more deeply because you are not constantly afraid of losing what you love. When you love someone with attachment, fear shadows every moment. You fear they will leave, change, or disappoint you. But when you love with non-attachment, there is no fear. You love freely, fully, without the chains of possession. You are able to savor moments without trying to trap them, knowing that their impermanence is what makes them precious. Practicing non-attachment requires mindfulness. You must begin to notice where you are clinging. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to so tightly that it causes me pain? What am I afraid to lose? What outcome do I feel desperate to control? Awareness is the first step. Once you see your attachments, you can begin to loosen them. This does not happen all at once. It is a process of gently opening your grip, of reminding yourself that you can live, love, and thrive even without the things you cling to. Non-attachment also requires trust. You must trust that life will bring you what you need and remove what no longer serves you. You must trust that letting go does not mean losing. It means making space for something new. Trust allows you to release your desperate grip and flow with the current of life rather than fighting against it. There is a deep peace that comes with this practice. Imagine living without fear of loss, without the constant anxiety of clinging. Imagine loving people without trying to control them, enjoying possessions without being owned by them, pursuing goals without being crushed by outcomes. This is the freedom of non-attachment. It is not about having less, it is about suffering less. Buddhist monks often illustrate this with the story of a person carrying a heavy bag. At first, the bag may seem useful, even valuable. But as the journey continues, the weight becomes unbearable. The more tightly you hold on, the more painful the journey becomes. The moment you set the bag down, you feel light, free, able to move with ease. Attachment is the heavy bag. Non-attachment is putting it down. The ultimate freedom lies in realizing that nothing in life truly belongs to you. People, possessions, experiences, they all come and go. You do not own them. You are only a traveler passing through, blessed to experience them for a time. When you stop clinging, you can finally appreciate life for what it is, a temporary, beautiful gift. So let non-attachment become your practice. Do not reject life, but do not cling to it either. Love deeply, but love freely. Work hard, but release the results. Enjoy possessions, but do not let them own you. Embrace your identity, but do not fear its evolution. Live in the present and let the past and future rest. In this way, you discover the profound truth, that freedom is not found in holding tighter, but in letting go. When you walk the path of non-attachment, you discover a peace that no loss can destroy, a joy that no change can steal, and a freedom that no circumstance can take away. This is the freedom of the open hand, the freedom of the uncluttered heart, the freedom of the soul that moves with the flow of life rather than fighting against it. And once you taste this freedom, you will never again mistake clinging for love or possession for peace. Death is the ultimate teacher of life. There is one truth that unites every human being, no matter their age, culture, beliefs, or background. It is the truth that we spend much of our lives trying to avoid, trying to deny, trying to bury under distractions and noise. That truth is death. No matter who you are, how powerful you become, or how much you achieve, one day your life in this world will come to an end. And yet, although death is the most certain reality, it is also the most feared and misunderstood. People often treat it as the great enemy, the ultimate thief, the shadow that follows them silently until the day it takes everything away. But what if death is not an enemy at all? What if death, instead of being life's cruel destroyer, is actually its greatest teacher? To reflect on death is not to be morbid or hopeless, it is to awaken. For when you live with the awareness that your time here is limited, everything changes. The petty arguments, the endless worries, the constant chasing of material things suddenly lose their grip. What seemed urgent and overwhelming begins to feel small. And what truly matters, love, kindness, presence, truth, rises to the surface with clarity. Death, far from taking away life's meaning, gives it meaning. It sharpens your awareness, reminding you that every breath, every sunrise, every conversation, and every act of love is precious precisely because it will not last forever. Think about how often people waste their days as though they are endless. They postpone their dreams, telling themselves they will start tomorrow. They withhold their love, assuming they will always have more time to say what matters. They hold grudges for years, believing they can forgive later. They live half asleep, lulled by the illusion that life is guaranteed. But death cuts through that illusion. It whispers, "Time is not endless. You do not own tomorrow. Wake up now." The awareness of death is not meant to paralyze you. It is meant to awaken you to the urgency of living fully. Buddhism teaches the practice of meditating on death, not to fill the mind with fear, but to dissolve the illusions of permanence. Monks reflect daily on their mortality, reminding themselves that life is fleeting, fragile, and precious. Far from making them despair, this reflection makes them grateful, present, and compassionate. For when you know that every person you meet will one day die, including yourself, you soften, you begin to treat others with kindness, knowing that their time is just as limited as yours. You begin to let go of unnecessary anger because suddenly you realize it is foolish to waste your brief existence in resentment. You begin to forgive, to love, and to cherish, because death has taught you the truth, that nothing lasts forever, so everything must be lived now. Think of the way you feel when someone close to you passes away. In that moment, all the trivial details that once seemed so important vanish. You do not think of their mistakes or their flaws. You think of their smile, their laughter, the moments you shared. You wish for just one more day, one more conversation, one more chance to say, "I love you." Death strips away the illusions and reveals what matters most. But the question is, why wait until someone is gone to realize this? Why not let the awareness of death guide you now, while you still have the chance to live fully and love deeply? Awareness of death is also a cure for pride. We spend so much energy building identities, chasing titles, and comparing ourselves to others, as though these things will define us forever. But death levels all pride. Kings and beggars, rich and poor, famous and forgotten, all return to the same earth. This truth is not meant to diminish your life, but to free you. When you realize that everything external will one day be stripped away, you stop clinging so tightly to appearances. You begin to live not for status, but for authenticity. You begin to value not how much you own, but how much you give. You begin to understand that what survives you is not your possessions, but the impact you left on others, the love you shared, the kindness you gave. There is also a strange paradox in the awareness of death. It makes you more alive. When you truly accept that life is temporary, you no longer sleepwalk through your days. The sunrise looks more beautiful because you know you will not see it forever. A conversation feels more sacred because you know you will not always have the chance. Even small things, like the taste of food, the sound of laughter, the feeling of the wind, become treasures because death has taught you to notice them. People who live in denial of death often take life for granted. People who live with awareness of death cherish life deeply. But most of us avoid this awareness. We distract ourselves with busyness, entertainment, and endless pursuits, hoping that if we keep running, death will never catch us. Yet no distraction can erase reality. Avoiding death does not remove its truth. It only robs you of the chance to be transformed by it. The courage to face death, to sit with it, to accept it, is the courage to live without fear. Death also teaches acceptance. Many people suffer not just because of death itself, but because they resist it. They refuse to accept the impermanence of life, so they cling desperately to youth, to possessions, to people, as though clinging could stop the flow of time. But clinging only increases suffering. When you resist death, you live in fear. When you accept death, you live in peace. Non-attachment and acceptance of death are inseparable. To embrace one is to embrace the other. The ultimate lesson of death is humility. It reminds you that you are part of a larger cycle, a flow of existence that goes beyond your individual life. Just as the leaves fall from the tree to nourish the soil for new growth, just as stars die to create the elements that form planets and people, so too will your life one day return to the greater whole. Death is not only an ending, it is part of the rhythm of existence. This realization can remove much of the fear, replacing it with awe and reverence for the mystery of life. But death is not only a teacher about endings, it is also a teacher about beginnings. Often it is only when one part of your life dies, a relationship, a career, a version of yourself, that you are free to step into something new. Death is a constant companion, not just at the end of your life, but throughout it. The death of old habits, old identities, and old dreams makes way for rebirth. Every transformation you experience is a small death followed by a new life. When you accept this, you no longer fear change because you understand that endings are not destruction, they are preparation. Think of the seasons. Winter is often seen as barren, cold, and lifeless. But beneath the surface, life is preparing to bloom again. In the same way, death, whether literal or symbolic, is not only about loss, it is about renewal. Every ending is also a beginning. Every closing is also an opening. Every death is also a doorway. When you see this, you no longer see death as only darkness. You see it as part of the eternal cycle of light and renewal. Living with the awareness of death changes how you treat yourself too. You stop delaying self-love because you realize life is too short to spend hating yourself. You stop putting off your dreams because you realize there may not be another day to begin. You stop wasting energy on what drains you because you realize time is too precious to squander. Death teaches urgency, not the urgency of panic, but the urgency of purpose. It teaches you to live intentionally, to focus on what matters, to give your best self now, not later. And perhaps the most powerful gift of death is that it teaches love. For when you know that everyone you love will one day be gone, you stop taking them for granted. You say the words now, you forgive now, you embrace now. You learn to see people as miracles, fleeting and fragile, and in that awareness, your love deepens beyond measure. Death strips away illusion and leaves only truth, and the deepest truth is love. So let death be your teacher, not your enemy. Let it remind you of impermanence so you can cherish the present. Let it humble your pride so you can live authentically. Let it dissolve your fear so you can live courageously. Let it sharpen your awareness so you can live fully. Death is not the thief of life. It is the mirror that reflects life's value back to you. Without it, life would be endless, and endlessness would breed indifference. With it, life becomes precious, urgent, and meaningful. When the day comes that you face death, your own or that of someone you love, remember the lessons it has already been teaching you all along. Remember that it was never here to destroy you, but to awaken you. Remember that everything you loved, gave, or created lives on in some form. Remember that death is not the end of your story. It is the continuation of life's story through you. And most importantly, remember this. When you live with death as your teacher, you no longer fear its arrival. You walk through life awake, grateful, loving, and free. And when the final moment comes, you will not look back with regret, because you will have already learned the greatest lesson of all, that to live well is to die without fear. The hidden strength of surrender. For much of life, we are taught that strength is about control, about holding on tightly, about pushing harder, about never giving up. The world praises persistence, effort, and the ability to dominate circumstances. And while there is truth in perseverance, there is also another kind of strength that is rarely spoken of, a strength that feels like weakness at first, but proves to be transformative in the deepest way. This is the strength of surrender. Surrender does not mean defeat. It does not mean giving up your dreams, abandoning your values, or passively accepting a life you do not want. True surrender is something much deeper. It is the conscious choice to release your desperate need for control, to let go of the illusions that weigh you down, and to trust in the flow of life. It is the wisdom to know when holding on is destroying you and when letting go is the path to freedom. Most suffering comes not from the events themselves, but from our resistance to them. We cling to the way things should be, and when reality does not match our expectations, we fight, we resist, we rage, we despair. This resistance creates pain that often surpasses the original wound. The relationship ends, and instead of grieving and moving forward, we cling to the memory, resisting the truth that it is over. The plan fails, and instead of adapting, we resist, refusing to accept that life has turned a different way. In every case, it is not the change itself that destroys us. It is our refusal to surrender to it. Buddhism speaks of the impermanent nature of all things. Everything arises, exists for a time, and then fades. To resist this flow is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. Surrender, however, is the open hand. It allows life to flow through you without breaking you. It is not weakness, it is harmony with reality. Think of the trees in a storm. The rigid tree that refuses to bend often snaps, while the tree that sways with the wind survives. Surrender is not the absence of strength, it is flexible strength. It is the ability to bend without breaking, to adapt without losing yourself, to trust that even in the storm you will endure. There is also surrender to time. Many of us are impatient, demanding that life give us results according to our schedule. We push, we force, we rush, believing that everything must happen now. But life has its own timing, and often what we call delays are actually preparation. When you surrender to time, you no longer live in frustration. You work diligently, but you release the obsession with when and how results must arrive. You begin to trust that life unfolds in perfect rhythm. Surrender also means releasing control over others. How often do we try to mold people into what we want them to be? Partners, children, friends, colleagues. We impose expectations, we demand changes, we cling to illusions. But people are not possessions, they are souls on their own journeys. When you surrender your need to control them, you discover a new kind of love, one that is spacious, respectful, and free. You love them as they are, not as you wish them to be. There is a surrender of ego as well. The ego craves recognition, control, and certainty. It resists humility, refuses to admit weakness, and clings desperately to the illusion of permanence. But surrender dismantles the ego's grip. It allows you to admit that you do not always know, that you cannot always control, that you are not the center of the universe. This humility does not diminish you, it liberates you. It frees you from the exhausting burden of pretending to be invincible. And then there is the ultimate surrender, the acceptance of death. As we reflected in the previous lesson, death is the greatest teacher, but it is also the greatest surrender. To live fully is to surrender to the truth that life is temporary. To die well is to surrender to the mystery beyond. Those who resist death live in fear. Those who surrender to it live in peace. But how do you practice surrender in daily life? It begins with awareness. Notice where you are holding on too tightly. Notice the tension in your body, the anxiety in your mind, the resistance in your heart. Ask yourself, what am I refusing to let go of? What would happen if I surrendered this? Often, the answer is not destruction, but liberation. Surrender does not mean inaction. You still work, you still love, you still dream, but you release the desperate need to control the outcome. You give your best, and then you let life take its course. You trust that what is meant for you will stay, and what is not meant for you will leave. This trust does not make you passive. It makes you powerful, because your energy is no longer wasted in resistance. There is profound peace in surrender. Imagine carrying a heavy weight for years, your body aching under the burden. Now imagine setting it down. That is what surrender feels like. It is the release of the unnecessary, the acceptance of reality, the freedom to breathe again. You realize you were never meant to carry everything. Life flows more easily when you stop fighting it. Surrender also opens the door to wisdom. When you are not blinded by resistance, you can see clearly. You can recognize opportunities you would have missed. You can hear insights that were drowned out by struggle. You can move with the current instead of against it. Often, it is only when we surrender that the path forward becomes visible. The paradox of surrender is that it gives you greater strength than control ever could. When you stop clinging, you stop being fragile. When you release your grip, you discover freedom. When you let go, you make space for new beginnings. True strength is not in holding tightly, but in knowing when to release. So the next time life asks you to let go of a plan, of a relationship, of a dream, do not see it as weakness. See it as an invitation to trust, to flow, to surrender. Remember that surrender is not giving up. It is giving over. It is handing your burden to life, trusting that the universe knows more than you, trusting that even in loss there is guidance. Surrender is not the end of power. It is the beginning of peace. And when you live with the strength of surrender, you discover a freedom that no attachment, no resistance, and no fear can ever take away. The light hidden in hardship. Every person alive knows the weight of hardship. Struggles come in many forms: financial difficulties, broken relationships, loneliness, illness, rejection, failure, loss, and uncertainty about the future. Sometimes hardships arrive like sudden storms, unexpected and overwhelming, crashing into your life without warning. Other times, they linger quietly like heavy clouds, stretching across months or years, pressing down on your heart until you wonder if the sun will ever shine again. Hardship is universal. No one escapes it. And yet, what most people do not realize is that hardship is not only a burden, it is also a gift. Beneath its weight, it carries a hidden light. Beneath its pain, it carries the seeds of transformation. The natural reaction to hardship is resistance. When difficulties arrive, the first instinct is to ask, why me? Why now? Why this? We see hardship as unfair, as an interruption to the life we imagined. We curse it, we fight it, we wish it away. But Buddhism reminds us of a profound truth. Suffering is not a mistake in the design of life. It is part of the design. Hardship is not an obstacle to the path. It is the path. When you shift your perspective from fighting hardship to listening to it, something remarkable happens. You begin to see that every difficulty is a teacher, every trial is a mirror, and every pain carries a lesson hidden within it. Think of the hardest moments of your life. Were they not also the moments that shaped you most? The heartbreak that shattered you taught you resilience. The rejection that crushed you redirected you to something greater. The failures that humiliated you humbled you, taught you persistence, and prepared you for later victories. If you look closely, you will see that every season of hardship has left behind a gift, a piece of wisdom, a new strength, a deeper compassion, a clearer perspective. The light hidden in hardship only becomes visible when you stop running from it and begin to seek it. Nature shows us this truth again and again. The seed must first be buried in darkness before it can grow. The caterpillar must endure the struggle of the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. The diamond is formed only under immense pressure. Fire destroys, but it also purifies and refines. Hardship is nature's way of shaping greatness. Without it, life would be shallow, growth would be impossible, and wisdom would remain only theory. But while this truth is simple, living it is not. Hardship hurts. It wounds the heart, shakes the spirit, and tests the mind. And this is where the practice of awareness becomes vital. When hardship arrives, you have two choices. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. You cannot always control what happens, but you can control how you respond. Do you sink into bitterness, or do you rise with courage? Do you cling to despair, or do you search for meaning? This choice determines whether hardship becomes a prison or a teacher. One of the hidden gifts of hardship is that it reveals your strength. You never truly know how strong you are until strength is the only option you have. People often underestimate themselves, believing they could never survive certain losses or endure certain challenges. Yet when those challenges come, they discover reserves of courage and resilience they never knew existed. Hardship has a way of bringing your hidden strength to the surface, showing you that you are capable of far more than you imagined. Hardship also teaches empathy. When life has always been easy, it is easy to become arrogant, to look down on those who struggle, to assume their pain is their fault. But when you suffer yourself, your heart softens. You begin to understand what others are going through. You begin to see that everyone is carrying burdens, many of which are invisible. This empathy makes you kinder, gentler, more compassionate. Hardship strips away judgment and replaces it with humanity. Another light hidden in hardship is clarity. When life is comfortable, it is easy to become distracted by superficial pursuits. But when hardship strikes, it forces you to ask deep questions. What really matters? Who really matters? What do I want to live for? Hardship burns away illusions and leaves only truth. It shows you that happiness does not come from possessions, status, or appearances. It comes from meaning, relationships, love, and peace of mind. Many people only discover this truth after hardship strips away what they thought was important. There is also freedom in hardship. It may sound strange, but hardship frees you from illusions of control. Most people spend their lives believing they can control everything: their future, their relationships, their health, their success. But hardship comes and reminds you that control is limited. While this feels frightening at first, it also brings liberation. When you accept that you cannot control everything, you stop wasting energy on the impossible. You focus instead on what you can control: your actions, your mindset, your response. And in that shift, you find peace. Buddhism often teaches that hardship is not meant to be escaped, but embraced with mindfulness. This does not mean you must enjoy suffering. It means you must meet it with awareness rather than resistance. When you feel pain, observe it without judgment. When you feel fear, notice it without clinging. When life feels unbearable, breathe into the moment and remind yourself that nothing is permanent. Not even this. Just as joy passes, so too does sorrow. Just as good seasons end, so too do painful ones. This impermanence itself is the hidden light, reminding you that no hardship lasts forever. The greatest danger of hardship is not the pain itself, but the story you create around it. If you tell yourself that hardship means you are cursed, unlucky, or unworthy, then you create unnecessary suffering. But if you tell yourself that hardship is a lesson, a test, or an invitation, then the same pain transforms into purpose. The story you tell about your hardship determines whether it destroys you or transforms you. History is filled with people who discovered greatness in hardship, leaders who grew wise through struggle, artists who created beauty from pain, thinkers who found truth in solitude and loss. Their hardships did not crush them, they carved them into something greater. And the same potential exists in you. The hardship you face today may feel unbearable, but one day you may look back and see that it was the very thing that gave you strength, wisdom, and compassion you could never have found otherwise. So how do you find the light hidden in hardship? You begin by shifting your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of resisting, lean into acceptance. Instead of clinging to despair, open yourself to growth. Practice gratitude, even in small ways, by noticing what hardship has already given you: patience, empathy, resilience. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your strength. And most importantly, be gentle with yourself. Hardship is heavy, and carrying it requires courage. Do not add to the weight by judging yourself harshly. In time, you will begin to see that hardship is not your enemy. It is a harsh teacher, yes, but also a wise one. It strips away illusions, reveals your strength, teaches compassion, brings clarity, and opens the door to transformation. It is through hardship that you discover the depth of your spirit, the resilience of your heart, and the light that was hidden within you all along. When hardship comes again, and it always will, remember this truth. Though it may wound you, it also shapes you. Though it may feel like darkness, it carries its own light. Though it may break you, it can also rebuild you into someone stronger, wiser, and freer. The storm may rage, but hidden within it is the seed of renewal. So do not fear hardship. Welcome it as part of the path. Trust that within its weight lies wisdom, within its struggle lies growth, and within its darkness lies light. For in the end, hardship is not here to destroy you. It is here to awaken you, and when you embrace it fully, you will discover the greatest secret of all, that the very challenges you once cursed may become the very reasons you rise. The strength found in patience. In a world that moves faster every day, patience is often treated as weakness. People celebrate speed, urgency, instant results, and immediate gratification. We live in an age of one-click purchases, instant messaging, quick answers, and fast success stories that spread across social media. Waiting has become almost unbearable for many, as though the mere act of slowing down is a sign of failure. And yet, what few people understand is that patience is not weakness. It is one of the greatest forms of strength a person can develop. Patience is not about passively doing nothing. It is not about sitting idly while life passes you by. Patience is active strength. It is the ability to endure without breaking, to keep faith when results are unseen, to move steadily forward when the world tempts you to rush, panic, or give up. Patience is the discipline to wait with purpose, the courage to trust the timing of life, and the wisdom to know that true transformation takes time. Think of nature. A seed planted in the soil does not sprout overnight. It requires seasons of patience, sunlight, rain, growth beneath the surface, before it breaks through the earth and becomes a tree. If you were to dig up the seed after a week because you could not see results, you would destroy the very process that was preparing it to bloom. Life works in the same way. Every dream, every change, every transformation you seek requires its own season. Without patience, you uproot your own growth before it has time to take root. Buddhism teaches patience as a form of compassion for others, for life, and for yourself. To be patient with others is to accept that people grow at different speeds, that not everyone will meet your expectations right away, and that kindness often requires waiting. To be patient with life is to trust that the universe unfolds in its own rhythm, and that not everything can be rushed. To be patient with yourself is to forgive your mistakes, to accept your struggles, and to give yourself the time needed to heal and grow. In this way, patience is not passive endurance, it is active love. Consider the hardships you have faced in your life. How many of them were resolved instantly? How many truly important changes happened overnight? The truth is that most meaningful transformations, healing from loss, rebuilding after failure, mastering a skill, deepening wisdom, require patience. Without it, you would abandon the process too soon. Patience is the bridge that carries you from struggle to strength, from trial to triumph. There is also power in the stillness that patience creates. When you are patient, you are not pulled into the chaos of urgency. You learn to pause, to breathe, to reflect before reacting. This pause gives you clarity. It prevents you from making rash decisions you will later regret. It allows you to see the bigger picture rather than being blinded by the immediacy of the moment. In this sense, patience is not only strength, it is wisdom. It allows you to see further than those who rush blindly forward. One of the hidden strengths of patience is that it frees you from the tyranny of comparison. Impatience is often born from looking at others and wondering why they are ahead of you. You see someone achieve success, and you grow restless with your own progress. You see someone reach milestones, and you feel behind. But patience teaches you that life is not a race. It reminds you that every person has their own path, their own timing, their own lessons. To be patient is to release the need to compete with others, and instead focus on your own journey. Patience also builds resilience. Every time you endure a delay, every time you persist without immediate reward, you strengthen your ability to withstand life's challenges. Resilience is not built in ease. It is built in waiting, in enduring, in continuing when results are invisible. This resilience becomes unshakable strength because once you have learned to wait with faith, no setback can destroy you. Think of a sculptor working with marble. With every strike of the chisel, progress is almost invisible. The block looks the same after hours of effort, yet the sculptor continues patiently because they know that transformation takes time. Only after many days, weeks, and months does the masterpiece emerge. Impatient hands would abandon the work, calling it hopeless. But patient hands reveal beauty. In your own life, patience is the sculptor's tool. Every day of effort, though it may look invisible, is shaping you. Patience is also a form of freedom. When you lack patience, you live enslaved to urgency. Every delay feels like torment. Every setback feels like disaster. Your peace of mind is destroyed by the constant demand for results. But when you practice patience, you break free from this slavery. You are no longer shaken by delays, no longer destroyed by waiting. You move at your own pace, grounded, steady, and calm. Life cannot control you because you are not desperate for speed. There is deep spiritual wisdom in patience as well. In many traditions, patience is seen as an act of trust. To be patient is to trust life's timing, to trust that what is meant for you will come, and that what is not meant for you will leave. Impatience is rooted in fear, the fear that you will miss out, that life will forget you, that you will be left behind. But patience is rooted in faith, the faith that nothing truly meant for you can ever pass you by. This faith brings peace because it shifts your focus from control to trust. Patience also transforms relationships. Without patience, you demand perfection from others. You expect them to meet your needs instantly, to grow at your pace, to never falter. This destroys connection. But patience allows you to love people as they are, to give them space to grow, to forgive their mistakes, and to walk with them at their pace. Patience deepens bonds because it says, I will not abandon you when you are slow to change. I will walk with you through your process. And perhaps most importantly, patience transforms the way you treat yourself. Many people are cruel to themselves because they are impatient with their own growth. They demand instant transformation, and when they stumble, they call themselves failures. But growth is never instant. Healing takes time, mastery takes time, self-love takes time. Patience with yourself is not indulgence, it is necessary. It is the recognition that you are human, that change is gradual, and that every step, no matter how small, matters. Patience is the soil in which every other virtue grows. Without patience, wisdom cannot deepen, compassion cannot endure, resilience cannot build, and peace cannot flourish. Patience is the steady flame that lights the way when everything else grows dark. It is the quiet strength that allows you to keep going when others give up. It is the invisible power that carries you through storms without losing your center. So the next time you are tempted to rush, pause. The next time you feel restless, breathe. The next time you demand results instantly, remind yourself, growth takes time and patience is strength. Do not mistake slowness for failure. Do not mistake waiting for weakness. True power is not in rushing ahead. It is in walking steadily, calmly, and faithfully, trusting that the journey itself is shaping you. In the end, patience will give you something speed never can: depth. While others rush to the surface, you will grow roots. While others chase quick rewards, you will build lasting treasures. While others burn out in their urgency, you will endure. Patience is the strength that not only survives time, but thrives because of it. And when you live with patience, you will find that you are no longer anxious about the future, no longer restless in the present, and no longer haunted by the past. you will discover the quiet truth that strength is not always loud, fast, or visible. Sometimes strength is simply waiting, enduring, persisting, and trusting until the right season arrives. This is the strength found in patience, the strength to trust, the strength to endure, the strength to grow quietly until the day comes when your life, like the seed, bursts into bloom. The quiet power of gratitude. There are forces in life that shout loudly, forces that are visible and dramatic: ambition, power, achievement, control. These are the qualities that the world often praises, but there is another force, quiet and subtle, often overlooked, yet more transformative than all the rest. That force is gratitude. Gratitude does not make noise. It does not demand attention. It does not dazzle like wealth or impress like fame. Yet gratitude has the power to change the way you see the world, the way you experience life, and the way you carry yourself through both joy and suffering. Gratitude is the quiet key that unlocks peace. Most people misunderstand gratitude. They think it is only about saying thank you when something good happens, or about writing lists of blessings when life feels kind. But true gratitude is much deeper. It is not just a reaction to what you receive. It is a way of seeing. It is a state of awareness, a shift in perception, a way of living that changes how you interpret every experience. Gratitude does not depend on having everything go right. It does not wait for perfection. Gratitude is the ability to see beauty in imperfection, to notice abundance in simplicity, and to find light even in darkness. Think of a person who has very little in terms of possessions, yet radiates peace and joy. They may live in modest circumstances, yet they carry no bitterness, no envy. Instead, they find joy in a simple meal, in the laughter of family, in the quiet beauty of nature. Now think of someone who seems to have everything: wealth, success, recognition, yet feels restless, empty, dissatisfied. The difference between the two is not in what they possess, but in how they see. Gratitude creates wealth where there is little. The absence of gratitude creates poverty even in abundance. Buddhism speaks of gratitude not as a luxury, but as a practice, an essential part of the path to awakening. Gratitude brings mindfulness into daily life because it draws your attention to the present. When you are grateful, you are not lost in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. You are here, noticing what is before you. Gratitude anchors you in now, and now is where peace lives. The quiet power of gratitude lies in its ability to transform suffering. When hardship strikes, the natural instinct is to focus on what is wrong, what is missing, what has been lost. Gratitude does not deny the pain, but it shifts the lens. Even in suffering, gratitude asks, what remains? What is still here? What has this hardship taught me? This perspective does not erase pain, but it gives it meaning. It helps you see that even in loss, there is love. Even in failure, there is growth. Even in endings, there are beginnings. Gratitude transforms suffering into wisdom. There is also healing in gratitude. When you are grateful, your body softens, your mind relaxes, your heart opens. Studies in modern psychology confirm what ancient wisdom has long taught, that gratitude reduces anxiety, lowers stress, and even strengthens health. But beyond the science, gratitude simply feels good because it reconnects you to life. It reminds you that even in chaos, there is beauty. Even in difficulty, there is support. Gratitude heals the wounds of scarcity by showing you abundance. Gratitude also changes relationships. When you focus only on flaws, you become blind to the gifts others bring into your life. You take kindness for granted, assuming it will always be there. But when you practice gratitude in relationships, everything shifts. You begin to notice the small things: a smile, a word of encouragement, a simple act of care. Gratitude deepens bonds because it acknowledges and honors what others give. It is impossible to remain bitter when your heart is full of thanks. Another secret of gratitude is that it expands what you value. When you are ungrateful, your focus is narrow. You see only what you lack, and life feels empty. But when you are grateful, your vision widens. You begin to notice details you once ignored, the way sunlight filters through a window, the warmth of a cup of tea, the presence of a friend. Gratitude trains your eyes to see abundance everywhere, and in seeing it, you feel it. This expansion turns ordinary life into extraordinary experience. Gratitude is also a practice of humility. It reminds you that you are not the source of everything you enjoy. The food on your table comes from the work of countless hands: the farmer, the truck driver, the shopkeeper. The knowledge you have was passed down by teachers and thinkers across centuries. Even the breath in your lungs is a gift from life itself. Gratitude humbles you, reminding you that you are not separate but deeply connected to others and to the world. This humility is not weakness, it is the foundation of compassion. Perhaps the deepest power of gratitude is its ability to free you from the endless chase. Most people live in a cycle of if only. If only I had more money, then I'd be happy. If only I were loved more, then I'd be at peace. If only I achieved this goal, then I'd be fulfilled. But gratitude breaks this cycle by teaching you that happiness is not in the future, it is here. You can be content now, even as you grow. You can be fulfilled now, even as you dream. Gratitude teaches you that life is enough, and in that realization, you find the freedom you were chasing all along. But how do you cultivate this quiet power? Gratitude is not always natural, especially in moments of pain. It must be practiced. Begin with awareness. Each day, pause to notice something small, a kindness, a beauty, a breath, and say silently, "Thank you." When your mind drifts to what is missing, gently bring it back to what is present. Gratitude grows with repetition, like a muscle strengthened over time. Gratitude can also be practiced in adversity. The next time hardship comes, instead of only asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this teaching me? What remains for me to cherish?" This does not mean ignoring pain. It means balancing pain with perspective. Gratitude in suffering is the highest form of strength because it sees light in darkness. You can also extend gratitude outward. Express thanks to others, not just for grand gestures, but for the small things they do each day. Gratitude spoken strengthens both you and the one you thank. And extend gratitude beyond people, to nature, to life, to the moments that shape you. The more you practice, the more gratitude becomes your natural state. In the end, gratitude is not about adding something to life. It is about uncovering what is already there. Life is already filled with abundance, but without gratitude, you are blind to it. With gratitude, the veil lifts and you see clearly. Gratitude is not an accessory to life. It is the lens through which life becomes beautiful. So live with gratitude, not just as a reaction, but as a way of being. Wake each day with thanks for breath, for life, for the chance to begin again. Carry gratitude into your struggles, your relationships, your quiet moments. Let it shape the way you see the world. For when you live with gratitude, you discover a peace that cannot be shaken by loss, a joy that cannot be stolen by hardship, and a strength that cannot be broken by time. Gratitude is the quiet power that transforms everything. It does not change the world outside you. It changes the world within you. And when your inner world changes, everything else follows. This is the secret the wise have always known, that the path to peace is not found in gaining more, but in giving thanks for what already is. The balance between strength and surrender. Life is full of contradictions, and one of the deepest is this. At times you are called to be strong, to hold on, to fight with everything in you, and at other times you are called to surrender, to let go, to yield. Most people struggle because they only know one side of this truth. They either cling to strength and resist surrender, exhausting themselves trying to control what cannot be controlled, or they cling to surrender and resist strength, drifting passively without taking responsibility for their choices. But real wisdom, real transformation, lies in knowing when to be strong and when to surrender. The balance between these two is one of the greatest secrets to a life of peace and purpose. Strength is celebrated everywhere. From childhood, we are told to stand tall, to never give up, to fight for what we want. Strength is associated with success, resilience, and courage. And indeed, strength is essential. Without it, nothing great is ever achieved. Strength allows you to endure hardship, to rise after failure, to stand firm in your values when the world pressures you to compromise. Strength is the fire that keeps you moving when life grows cold. But strength without surrender quickly becomes rigidity. It blinds you to the truth that not everything can be forced. You may fight for a relationship that is already dead, exhausting yourself trying to keep it alive. You may push for a dream that is no longer aligned with your soul, wasting years on something that no longer fits who you are. You may demand answers from life when life is asking you to trust the unknown. In these moments, strength is no longer courage, it is resistance, and resistance leads to suffering. Surrender, on the other hand, is often misunderstood. Many see it as weakness, as giving up, as being defeated. But surrender is not the end of power. True surrender is strength of a different kind. It is the strength to admit you do not control everything. It is the wisdom to let go of what no longer serves you. It is the courage to release your grip on illusions and flow with reality instead of against it. Surrender is not failure, it is trust. It is opening your hand when clenching your fist only creates pain. But surrender without strength becomes passivity. It can make you drift aimlessly, accepting suffering you could change, tolerating injustice you could resist, abandoning dreams you could build. This kind of surrender is not wisdom, it is resignation. It is giving up not because it is right, but because it is easy. The art of life, then, is learning balance, knowing when to stand firm and when to let go, when to fight and when to yield, when to act with force and when to move with flow. Consider the river. It is strong. It carves valleys, shapes landscapes, and wears down rock over centuries. Yet it is also surrendered. It flows around obstacles, bends with the terrain, adapts without losing its essence. The river is powerful because it embodies both strength and surrender. If it resisted every obstacle with rigidity, it would dry up. If it surrendered completely, it would stagnate. Its balance is its power. In your own life, strength and surrender must work together in the same way. Strength gives you determination, discipline, and resilience. Surrender gives you peace, trust, and wisdom. Together, they create harmony. Think of moments when you needed strength. Perhaps it was during a season of hardship when everything in you wanted to give up, but you kept going. Perhaps it was when you stood up for yourself, even when your voice shook. Perhaps it was when you chose discipline over comfort, working tirelessly for a dream no one else believed in. Strength was the force that carried you through. Now think of moments when you needed surrender. Perhaps it was when a relationship ended and holding on only brought pain. Perhaps it was when a plan collapsed and resisting reality only deepened your suffering. Perhaps it was when life asked you to change direction and surrendering opened a door you had not seen before. Surrender was the release that freed you. The wisdom is in knowing the difference. Strength says, keep going. Surrender says, let go. Strength says, stand firm. Surrender says, flow. Both are true, but each has its time. The challenge is not in choosing one over the other, but in discerning which is needed in the moment. Buddhism speaks often of the middle way, the path between extremes. The middle way is not about being half-hearted, but about balance. Strength without surrender is one extreme. Surrender without strength is the other. The middle way is the place where both meet, where you act with discipline but without attachment, where you let go, but without abandoning responsibility. It is the balance that brings harmony to the soul. This balance also applies to emotions. When anger rises, strength allows you to stand for justice, but surrender prevents you from being consumed by rage. When sadness comes, strength allows you to endure, but surrender allows you to feel and release. When fear appears, strength pushes you forward, but surrender helps you trust what lies ahead. In this way, strength and surrender are not opposites, they are partners. The greatest transformations in life often require both. To build a dream, you need strength, discipline, persistence, determination. But to bring that dream to life, you also need surrender, the ability to release rigid control, to trust timing, to adapt when plans change. To heal from loss, you need strength, the courage to keep living. But you also need surrender, the willingness to grieve, to let go, to accept. Transformation is not built on strength alone or surrender alone, but on their dance together. There is also humility in this balance. Strength without surrender can make you arrogant, believing you control everything. Surrender without strength can make you powerless, believing you control nothing. But when you embrace both, you realize the truth. You control some things, but not all. You have power, but you also live within a greater flow. This humility frees you from both pride and despair. So how do you practice this balance? Start with awareness. When you face a challenge, ask yourself, is this a moment to hold on or to let go? Is this a moment to push harder or to release? Sometimes you will get it wrong. You may hold on too long or surrender too soon. But with practice, you will begin to feel the difference. Strength feels like alignment with your values. Surrender feels like peace with reality. Together, they create harmony. Imagine facing hardship with this balance. Instead of fighting endlessly against what cannot be changed, you surrender to what is. Instead of passively accepting what you can change, you summon strength and act. In this balance, suffering lessens, clarity grows, and life flows more smoothly. Think again of the river. It does not resist the rocks. It flows around them. It does not stop at obstacles. It carves through them. It knows when to yield and when to persist. That is why it reaches the ocean steady and unstoppable. You too can live this way, strong and surrendered, unshakable yet flexible, grounded yet flowing. Strength without surrender exhausts you. Surrender without strength diminishes you. But strength with surrender transforms you. It makes you both resilient and peaceful, both powerful and free. So walk with both. Be strong in your values, your discipline, your courage. But surrender to the timing of life, to the impermanence of all things, to the greater wisdom of the universe. In this balance lies the secret to living without breaking, without drifting, without fear. The balance between strength and surrender is not just a lesson, it is a way of being. And when you master it, you discover a life of harmony, resilience, and peace. You learn that true power is not in clinging or in giving up, but in knowing when to do each. And once you live this balance, you will no longer be broken by storms or lost in stillness. You will move like the river, strong and surrendered, always flowing toward truth, the wisdom of silence. In a world filled with endless noise, silence has become one of the rarest treasures. From the moment you wake up, the world bombards you with sound. Phones buzzing, television speaking, conversations overlapping, cars honking, music blasting, advertisements screaming for your attention. And even when the world around you grows quiet, your mind often refuses to follow. Thoughts chatter endlessly inside your head. Worries about tomorrow, regrets about yesterday, judgments about yourself and others. True silence, both outer and inner, feels almost impossible to find. Yet silence is not merely the absence of sound. Silence is a presence. It is a living force, a sacred space, and one of the greatest teachers life can offer. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill every quiet moment with activity, distraction, or conversation. They turn on the television not because they are watching, but because they are afraid of the quiet. They keep music playing not because they are listening, but because silence feels unbearable. Why? Because silence reveals what noise hides. In silence, you are faced with yourself. In silence, the emotions you avoid, the wounds you bury, the questions you fear, all rise to the surface. Noise numbs, but silence exposes. And yet, what silence exposes is exactly what you need in order to grow. The wisdom of silence lies in its power to reveal truth. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, you cannot hear the deeper voice within, the voice of intuition, of conscience, of spirit. This voice is soft, like a whisper, and it is drowned out by the loudness of distraction. But when you allow yourself to enter silence, this inner voice becomes audible. You begin to hear guidance that was always there, waiting. You begin to notice insights rising unforced. You begin to feel clarity where there was once confusion. Silence is not empty, it is full of answers. Buddhism speaks often of the power of mindfulness, of sitting in meditation and simply being present. What is meditation if not the embrace of silence? In the stillness of breath, in the quiet of observation, you learn that silence is not something to fear, but something to trust. The Buddha himself sought silence beneath the Bodhi tree, and it was in that silence that enlightenment arose. Great teachers, sages, and thinkers throughout history all knew this truth, that silence is the gateway to wisdom. Silence is also a teacher of humility. When you choose silence, you admit that not everything needs your voice, your opinion, or your reaction. You learn that wisdom is not always in speaking, but in listening. Too often, people believe that strength lies in being heard, in dominating the conversation, in asserting themselves constantly. But true strength is often silent. It is the strength of restraint, of patience, of listening deeply before acting. Silence humbles you because it reminds you that the world does not revolve around your words. There is also deep healing in silence. In silence, the nervous system calms, the heart slows, the body relaxes. The noise of the world keeps the body in constant tension, always alert, always distracted. But silence allows the body to return to balance. Spiritually, silence heals even deeper wounds. In silence, you grieve, you release, you forgive, you reconnect. Silence allows you to sit with your pain long enough to understand it, instead of running from it endlessly. Healing does not always require words. It often requires quiet presence. Relationships, too, are transformed by silence. Many believe that love is proven by constant words, constant assurances, constant noise. But some of the deepest love is expressed in silence. The silence of holding hands without speaking, the silence of sitting together without needing to fill the air, the silence of understanding without explanation. True intimacy does not always require words. Sometimes it requires simply being together in quiet, sharing presence without distraction. But silence does not only heal relationships, it also protects them. How many conflicts are born not from truth, but from words spoken in haste, in anger, in impatience? Words have power, and once spoken, they cannot be taken back. Silence, when chosen wisely, can prevent wounds that might take years to heal. It is often better to pause in silence than to speak words that poison. Silence is not avoidance. It is wisdom that allows space for clarity before action. Silence is also a teacher of discipline. To remain silent when your ego is screaming to be heard requires mastery. To remain silent when gossip tempts you, when anger demands release, when pride seeks validation, that is true strength. It is easy to speak. It is harder to remain silent. But those who master silence master themselves. And yet, silence is not about withdrawal from life. It is not about isolating yourself or rejecting the world. Silence is about creating space within the noise. It is about cultivating an inner stillness that you carry with you wherever you go. Even in the middle of a crowded street, even in the chaos of daily life, you can carry silence inside you. This inner silence is unshakable. It is the calm beneath the storm, the steady ground beneath shifting sands. When you cultivate this inner silence, you are no longer a slave to noise. The world may shout, but you remain centered. Silence also teaches presence. When you are silent, you notice things you would otherwise miss. The subtle beauty of nature, the tone of someone's voice, the quiet signals of your own body, all become clearer. Silence sharpens your awareness. It brings you into deeper connection with the present moment, where life truly exists. Without silence, you skim the surface of life. With silence, you dive into its depth. There is also a sacred dimension to silence. In silence, you touch the infinite. You sense the mystery of existence, the vastness of the universe, the depth of your own soul. Many spiritual traditions speak of God, the divine or ultimate truth, being found not in noise, but in silence. Prayer is often filled with words, but the deepest prayer is sometimes wordless, a quiet sitting, a still presence, an open heart. Silence is where the human meets the divine. The wisdom of silence also lies in its paradox. Silence speaks. It speaks through presence, through stillness, through truth unspoken. Silence often communicates more than words ever could. A moment of silence in grief honors more than speeches. A silent act of kindness communicates more than promises. A silent gaze of compassion speaks more than explanations. Silence is its own language, and it is universal. But perhaps the greatest gift of silence is freedom. Noise enslaves. It fills your mind with distraction. It drowns your inner voice. It keeps you running endlessly. Silence frees you. It allows you to step outside the endless cycle of thought, of chatter, of noise, and to simply be. In silence, you are no longer defined by your words, your roles, or your distractions. You are simply yourself, whole and enough. So how do you cultivate the wisdom of silence in a noisy world? Begin small. Create moments of silence each day. Turn off the devices, step away from the noise and sit quietly, even for a few minutes. Breathe deeply. Listen to your thoughts without judgment. Notice the sounds of nature, the rhythm of your breath, the stillness between heartbeats. With practice, you will begin to feel the power of silence. Practice silence in your conversations. Listen more than you speak. Resist the urge to fill every pause with words. Allow silence to create space for deeper understanding. Practice silence in your reactions. Before responding in anger, pause. Before speaking in haste, breathe. Allow silence to guide your words. And most importantly, practice silence within yourself. Learn to quiet the endless chatter of the mind through meditation, mindfulness, or simple presence. This does not mean you will never think or worry, but that you will learn to find stillness beneath the noise. In the end, silence is not empty, it is full. It is full of truth, wisdom, healing, clarity, and peace. Silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is not absence, it is presence. When you embrace silence, you discover a power that the noisy world cannot give you. You discover the voice of your soul, the guidance of your spirit, and the peace that passes understanding. This is the wisdom of silence, that in the quiet you find what noise has always hidden, and once you discover it, you will no longer fear silence. You will seek it, you will cherish it, you will carry it with you as your deepest strength. The courage to be authentic. One of the deepest desires within every human being is to be seen for who they truly are. Beneath the layers of roles, masks, and expectations, there is a longing to live authentically, to speak your truth, to follow your heart, to stand in your values without apology. And yet, this is also one of the hardest things to do. For from the time you are young, the world begins teaching you to hide. You learn that approval comes not from being yourself, but from fitting in. You learn that love seems safer when you are what others want you to be, rather than who you truly are. Slowly, piece by piece, many people bury their authenticity beneath masks until they no longer remember what their real face looks like. To live authentically requires courage, perhaps the greatest courage of all. It means risking rejection, judgment, misunderstanding. It means walking a path that others may not understand. It means choosing honesty over popularity, truth over comfort, alignment over approval. But the reward of authenticity is priceless: freedom, peace, and the joy of living a life that is truly your own. The opposite of authenticity is pretense. Pretense is living for appearances, for the approval of others, for the image you believe will keep you safe. On the outside, it may look successful. You may be admired, accepted, even celebrated, but on the inside, pretense is suffocating. It forces you to silence your own voice, to betray your own heart, to live a life that is not yours. The cost of inauthenticity is not only external, it is internal. It is the quiet suffering of knowing that the world does not know the real you. Authenticity, on the other hand, is liberation. It is the release of the masks, the dropping of the roles, the choice to live in alignment with your truth. This does not mean you stop growing. Authenticity is not about clinging to a fixed identity. It means that however you grow, you do so honestly. It means you no longer betray yourself for the sake of pleasing others. Buddhism teaches that much of suffering comes from attachment to illusion. Pretense is one such illusion, the illusion that you must be what others expect in order to be loved. But when you begin to live authentically, you discover that the love that matters most is not the conditional love of others, but the unconditional acceptance of yourself. Without this, no external approval can fill the emptiness. With it, no external rejection can take away your peace. Authenticity requires self-knowledge. You cannot live truly if you do not know who you are. This means spending time in reflection, silence, and honesty, asking yourself, what do I truly value? What do I truly desire? What do I believe, not because I was taught, but because I have discovered it myself? Many people fear these questions because the answers may require change. But without self-knowledge, authenticity is impossible. You will simply continue living a script written by someone else. To live authentically also requires boundaries. When you choose authenticity, not everyone will applaud. Some will resist, some will criticize, some will leave. This is the price of authenticity. You lose the false relationships that were built on pretending. But what you gain is far greater. You attract the people who love you for who you are, not who you pretend to be. This creates relationships of depth, trust, and freedom. For there is no greater relief than to be with those before whom you can be yourself fully, without mask or performance. There is also great strength in authenticity because it makes you unshakable. When you live for the approval of others, you are fragile. A word of criticism can shatter you. A look of disapproval can break you. But when you live authentically, you are no longer at the mercy of opinions. Criticism may sting, but it does not define you. Rejection may hurt, but it does not destroy you. For you have anchored yourself not in the shifting winds of others, but in the steady truth of yourself. Authenticity also brings clarity. When you are pretending, every decision becomes complicated because you must constantly consider appearances. What will people think? What will they say? How can I avoid judgment? But when you live authentically, the path is simpler. You choose based on alignment, not approval. You act according to values, not opinions. You speak your truth, and the rest follows. This clarity is liberating because it frees you from the exhausting burden of performance. But make no mistake, authenticity is not easy. It will test you. There will be moments when the temptation to hide feels overwhelming. There will be times when the cost of honesty feels too high. There will be seasons when authenticity makes you lonely. But in these moments, remember this: The pain of authenticity is temporary, but the pain of pretense is endless. Better to be disliked for who you are than loved for who you are not. Better to walk alone in truth than to be surrounded in lies. There is also a deeper dimension to authenticity. It connects you to life itself. When you live authentically, you align not just with yourself, but with the flow of existence. You stop resisting what is true. You stop hiding behind illusions. You live honestly, and honesty creates harmony. The universe itself seems to support those who live authentically, because authenticity is truth, and truth is the foundation of life. How do you begin this journey? Start small. Notice the masks you wear. Notice the moments when you say yes, but mean no. When you laugh, though you are not amused. When you hide your true thoughts to avoid judgment. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself what it would mean to be honest instead. Then, little by little, begin to practice. Speak your truth gently but firmly. Set boundaries when needed. Choose actions that reflect your values, even when they are unpopular. Authenticity grows with practice, and with each step, you feel lighter. Living authentically also requires forgiveness for yourself. You will not always succeed. There will be moments when fear wins, when you choose the mask over the truth. Do not condemn yourself. Authenticity is a journey, not a destination. Each time you notice, each time you choose again, you grow stronger. The reward of authenticity is not perfection, it is freedom. Freedom from pretending, freedom from fear, freedom from the endless chase for approval. It is the peace of knowing that whatever happens, you are living honestly. It is the joy of looking in the mirror and seeing not a mask, but your true self staring back. And here lies the ultimate truth. Authenticity is not only for you, it is for the world. When you live authentically, you give others permission to do the same. Your courage inspires theirs. Your honesty creates space for their honesty. Your light awakens their light. Authenticity is contagious, and in living yours, you help heal the world of its endless pretending. So be authentic, be real, be true. Even when it is hard, even when it costs you, even when it feels lonely. For authenticity is not only courage, it is liberation. It is the path to peace, the path to joy, the path to a life that is truly yours. And when your final day comes, you will not regret the risks you took to be real. You will not regret the people who left because you refused to wear a mask. You will look back with peace, knowing that you lived as yourself, fully and freely. This is the courage to be authentic, to face the fear of rejection, to walk the lonely path if needed, to drop the masks and live the truth. And once you taste this freedom, you will never again settle for pretense. You will choose authenticity again and again until it becomes not an act of courage, but simply the way you live, the peace of letting go. All through life, we carry things. We carry dreams and desires, memories and regrets, relationships and expectations. Some of what we carry is light, like joy, laughter, and love. But much of what we carry becomes heavy, like grudges, losses, old wounds, unfulfilled ambitions, and the constant pressure to control outcomes. Slowly, without realizing it, we become weighed down. We walk through life like travelers with overstuffed bags, exhausted not because the road is too long, but because we refuse to put anything down. The art of letting go is one of the most difficult yet most liberating lessons in life. It is difficult because we are wired to cling. We cling to people even when they no longer belong in our story. We cling to outcomes even when life is pulling us in another direction. We cling to identities even when we have outgrown them. We cling to pain because sometimes the pain feels safer than the unknown. And yet, all this clinging only creates suffering. Buddhism teaches clearly that attachment is the root of suffering. When we hold on too tightly to what is impermanent, we set ourselves up for heartbreak because impermanence is life's law. Everything changes, everything shifts, everything eventually passes. When you learn to let go, you are not giving up. You are aligning yourself with this truth. You are releasing the illusion that you can stop the river of life from flowing. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you stop loving, stop dreaming, or stop trying. It means you release the desperate grip of control, the clenched fist that demands life go only your way. It means you learn to love without clinging, to dream without demanding, to work without obsessing, to live without fear. Letting go is not a loss, it is freedom. Think of the seasons. The tree does not cling to its leaves in autumn. If it did, the old leaves would rot and choke new growth. Instead, it releases them with grace, trusting that spring will bring renewal. Letting go in your own life is the same. When you release what no longer serves you, you make space for new beginnings. When you cling to what is gone, you block what is coming. But letting go is not only about relationships or things, it is also about the inner burdens we carry. How many of us are haunted by regrets of the past, words we cannot take back, choices we wish we had made differently, mistakes that replay in our minds like endless loops. We hold on to these regrets as though punishing ourselves will change the past. But the past is unchangeable. The only power it holds is the power we give it. Letting go of regret does not erase what happened, but it releases the hold it has on your present. It allows you to carry the lesson without carrying the weight. We also cling to anger and resentment. Someone wronged us, and we hold the memory like a burning coal in our hand, hoping it will hurt them, when in reality it only burns us. Forgiveness is one of the deepest forms of letting go. It is not saying what happened was right. It is not excusing the harm. It is simply setting yourself free from the chains of bitterness. When you forgive, you do not release the other person, you release yourself. Letting go also means releasing the need to control everything. We live under the illusion that if we plan carefully enough, if we work hard enough, if we worry long enough, we can make life obey us. But life will always surprise you. Plans will fail, people will change, the unexpected will arrive. You can exhaust yourself trying to hold on to certainty, or you can let go and trust the flow. This does not mean you stop planning or working. It means you do your best, and then you release the rest. You trust that what is meant for you will find you, and what is not meant for you will leave. One of the hardest things to let go of is identity. We cling to old versions of ourselves, old roles, old dreams, old images of who we thought we would be. But growth requires shedding. You are not who you were 10 years ago. You are not who you were yesterday. To cling to an old self is to resist evolution. Letting go of identity does not mean losing yourself. It means allowing yourself to become. It means embracing change as natural, necessary, and beautiful. There is deep peace in letting go because it ends the constant struggle. Holding on is exhausting. It keeps you fighting against reality, replaying what is gone, resisting what is coming. Letting go brings relief. It allows you to breathe again, to rest, to open your hands to what life wants to give you next. The practice of letting go begins with awareness. Notice what you are clinging to. Is it a relationship that has ended? A dream that no longer excites you? A regret from years ago? A version of yourself that no longer fits? Awareness is the first step. Then ask yourself, what would happen if I released this? What peace might I find? What new space might open? Letting go is often a process, not a single act. You may release something in your mind, only to find it creeping back into your heart. That is okay. Each time it returns, gently let it go again. Like the tide, it may come and go many times before it recedes fully. Patience is part of the practice. One way to practice is through rituals of release. Write down what you're holding on to, then burn the paper, watching the smoke rise as a symbol of release. Or sit in meditation, visualizing yourself opening your hands and letting the burden fall away. Or simply breathe deeply, exhaling as though you are releasing what weighs on you. These rituals remind your body and mind of the power of letting go. Another way is through gratitude. When you are grateful for what was, you can release it more easily. Gratitude transforms endings into blessings, losses into teachers, pain into wisdom. Instead of clinging with bitterness, you let go with appreciation, knowing that even endings carry gifts. In relationships, letting go may mean releasing people who no longer walk the same path. This is one of the hardest forms of letting go, because love makes us cling. But true love is not possession, it is freedom. When someone is meant for you, they will walk beside you. When they are not, no amount of clinging will keep them. Letting go honors both you and them, allowing each to grow where they are meant to grow. And finally, letting go also means surrendering to the ultimate impermanence of life itself. One day, everything you know will change. One day, you will have to release even your own body, your own breath, your own time on this earth. The practice of letting go in daily life prepares you for that ultimate release. It teaches you that impermanence is not something to fear, it is something to accept. And in that acceptance lies peace. The peace of letting go is not only in what you lose, but in what you gain. You gain freedom from burdens you were never meant to carry. You gain clarity about what truly matters. You gain space for new beginnings. And most of all, you gain peace, the peace of no longer fighting reality, the peace of flowing with life instead of against it. So open your hands, release what is gone, release what no longer serves you, release the illusion of control. Let go, not once but again and again, until letting go becomes a way of being. And as you do, you will discover that life is lighter than you imagined, freer than you believed, and more beautiful than you ever thought possible. Life is not a straight road. It is not a neat line from beginning to end. It is a vast and winding path, full of turns, full of lessons, full of moments that test you, break you, rebuild you, and awaken you. Along this path, you have walked through hardship and joy, silence and noise, patience and urgency, strength and surrender. And through it all, one truth has remained constant. Life is always teaching you. Every experience, every challenge, every quiet whisper has been an invitation to transform. The lessons you have journeyed through, about invisible effort, pain, discipline, patterns, surrender, patience, gratitude, authenticity, silence, and letting go, are not separate truths. They are threads woven into the same tapestry. Each one reveals a different part of what it means to live fully, to live wisely, to live freely. Together they form a map, not of rules, but of reminders. A map that shows you how to walk this path with presence, courage, and peace. The first truth is that transformation begins quietly. It begins in the invisible efforts no one else sees, in the private moments of discipline and choice. It continues through pain, which, though unwanted, carries wisdom. It deepens with patience, which teaches you to trust timing. It expands with gratitude, which opens your eyes to abundance. It matures with authenticity, which frees you from the masks you once wore. And it finds peace in surrender and letting go, which teach you that freedom is not in holding tighter, but in opening your hands. The greatest secret of this journey is that life is never against you. Even in hardship, even in heartbreak, even in endings, life is guiding you toward growth. The challenges you faced were not punishments, they were teachers. The losses you endured were not emptiness, they were invitations to cherish what remains. The silence you entered was not absence, it was presence. Everything you experienced was shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate, and more awake. And yet the journey is not about reaching perfection. It is not about mastering every lesson flawlessly. It is about walking with awareness. It is about remembering again and again that you are human, that you will stumble, that you will forget, and that every moment is another chance to begin again. Transformation is not a single event. It is a lifelong unfolding. What matters most is not that you hold every lesson perfectly, but that you keep walking, that you keep showing up, that you keep listening for the quiet voice beneath the noise, that you keep choosing growth over fear, presence over distraction, compassion over judgment, patience over urgency, truth over pretense, and love over everything else. If there is one thread that ties all these lessons together, it is this. Life is impermanent. Everything rises, everything falls, everything changes. When you resist this truth, you suffer. But when you accept it, you are free. Impermanence teaches you to love deeply because nothing lasts forever. It teaches you to let go because clinging cannot stop change. It teaches you to live now because now is all you ever truly have. Impermanence is not an enemy. It is the very reason life is precious. And so, as this journey of lessons draws to a close, the invitation is simple. Live fully. Do not wait for tomorrow. Do not cling to yesterday. Do not waste your life in noise, distraction, or fear. Live now. Love now. Forgive now. Be grateful now. Speak your truth now. For one day, your time will end, and when that day comes, the only question will be, did you live? To live is not to avoid hardship. It is to embrace it as part of the path. To live is not to silence pain. It is to listen to it until it teaches you. To live is not to control everything. It is to flow with life's river, strong and surrendered. To live is to walk with open hands, open eyes, and an open heart. This is the journey you have been on all along. These lessons were not outside you. They were within you, waiting to be remembered. And now that you have seen them, you cannot unsee them. You may forget, but you will always be able to return. You may stumble, but you will always know the way back. The path of transformation is not behind you or ahead of you. It is beneath your feet, here and now. So step forward with courage. Carry these truths not as heavy rules, but as gentle companions. Let patience guide your pace. Let gratitude open your eyes. Let silence steady your heart. Let authenticity free your soul. Let surrender and letting go bring you peace. And let love, the quiet, steady force that runs beneath every lesson, be the foundation of all you do. For in the end, it is love that endures, not possessions, not status, not even success. What endures is the kindness you gave, the compassion you carried, the presence you offered. That is what lives on. That is what transforms not only your life, but the lives of others. The journey is not finished, it never is. But you are walking it more awake now, more aware, more alive, and that is enough. Carry these lessons, live them, share them, and when the noise of life tries to drown them out, return to silence and listen. For life will keep teaching and your soul will keep growing until the very end. This is the conclusion, but not the end. It is a reminder. Your life is the lesson, and the way you live it is the transformation. Walk in peace, walk in gratitude, walk in love, and the journey itself will become the reward.